Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Here we go! Kiss me like a love song. So I'm a cowrie. Whoa, kimi ga kata omoi. Namida no shitsure Give me fire, give me double chatters.
You're listening to the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Welcome to episode 40 of the Emerald Flow Show. We're a podcast on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can follow us on Twitter at Emerald Flow Show. You can listen to us on all of your podcast apps. And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. And if you're feeling generous, you can donate to us at voicesofwrestling.com/donate. I'm Gerard DeTroyo here with Paul Vosh. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's getting warm and summery right now in Germany, so I'm actually having like a little bit of a tan going, but it's kind of a farmer's tan for now, where like wherever my body was covered by a shirt, it's still white, but in other ways it's getting a little bit more darker. So I need to rectify that by like going sun tanning at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting pretty humid here. I've got a tan going as well, and I'm going to be heading to New York City tomorrow, missing Forbidden Door, even though it's happening right near me.
That is such an amazing timing where you're just like, oh yeah, this is big massive show right around the corner. Let me just literally go to like, yeah, I don't know, like, okay, it's not the first one away, but it's like it's very funny that it's New York specifically as well, which normally would be like a place you go to for a big wrestling show, and you're doing the opposite, escaping from the big wrestling show to go to New York.
Yeah, well, the plans were made prior to the actual announcement, and I guess I had heard rumors that it might have been in Toronto, but I didn't know the date, and this was really the only time that was going to work out for both myself and my girlfriend, so that's how it works.
Yeah, fair enough.
But while we've both been busy in other ways too. Paul, you want to plug your recent appearance?
Yeah, so was it 2 weeks ago now, right? Yeah, so it was 2 weeks ago. So after All Together, I recorded together with the Drupa J-Cast guys, Joel and Damon. where we covered all together again. And also the guys actually asked me like some really interesting questions on kind of the
Yes, I
state of
listened. It was really good.
all Japan and Noah. So that was actually really good to kind of like basically get like the perspective of like two guys that don't really closely follow those promotions. I think they like came up with some really good questions based on that. And so yeah, that was really a lot of fun. So if you want to listen to that, you can find that on the Voice of Wrestling feed and Super Jcast
Yeah.
feed as well.
Yeah, and I was on recorded it Sunday. I think it came out either Tuesday or Monday. I was on once again Alan 4L's Pro Wrest Paradise on PW Torch VIP. We talk all about All Japan, and we talked about the shows on the 15th and the 17th, and I sort of made my case on why you should start watching All Japan right now, sort of thing. We didn't get, I mean, we covered the shows and we just, talked some stuff. We didn't get like too in the weeds because we wanted to keep it like, accessible, maybe if you didn't know what was going on in the company and everything like that. But I made my case for All Japan, and I made my case for the Saito brothers.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I hope I kind of did a good explanation of the Cytos on the Super J cast. Where I simply was like, because basically I was asked, are they good? And I'm like, no. Are they bad? No. But they come out to Dream Warriors by Dokken, and they're just two giant ugly guys that just beat people up like in mid '80s tag team in Crockett.
Yes. Well, I guess I'll pivot off of that to quick all together again thoughts. I really enjoyed the show. As you said, the Cytos didn't exactly set the world on fire. I think the problem, and I said this on Alan's pod, was that like United Empire is like a well-oiled and very slick machine, and I don't think the Cytos could quite keep up.
No.
You need people in there that can more work at their pace, I guess, and then I think you can get better matches out of them than that. My actually favorite match of the show was Suwama Nagata and Anzai versus Lij. I love the stuff between Naito and Anzai. The main event was the second best match of the show. Obviously, it was an amazing atmosphere, and Kento and Yuma sort of stole the show, and Yoshitatsu embarrassed himself. And
Against Yoshihashi too.
I think it's safe to say, and I came up with this conclusion after I was listening to your appearance on the Super J cast, and it's absolutely true. Like, I think it's safe to say Kento Miyahara is the biggest star in Japanese wrestling that's not in New Japan now.
Yeah, I think that's become more and more clear because we can like say it like, oh, it's. I don't think you really get that view when you just like watch All Japan, because obviously he's like the biggest star there by like a mile. Like Yuma's slowly but surely catching, like the Yumas are slowly but surely catching up to him. But he's, I think it really became even more apparent now. Like him, I think first time we really noticed it when he popped up on that Noah show, and he was just by far the most over there. And then like everything else since then, it's just become very clear that he is actually like even bigger than we thought he was. Where like he has actually reached like the consciousness of like Japanese wrestling fans generally now. Like even New Japans know who he is.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I forgot to put it in the run sheet, but did you see the match on the Blue Justice show?
No, I actually haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, well, I'll just talk about it briefly. It's fun. They didn't like go balls out, but it was a fun match. Like, Kento and Tanahashi, doing their interactions was great. Nagata and Yuma had some great interactions. It's not like a must-see match, but they just had a solid as hell 6-man or 8-man tag. And the funny thing was, though, when Kento came out, he did get some boos.
The one time.
But he did get the crowd to chant for him as well, as soon as he came out.
And such a,
So
I mean,
I
that
thought
actually makes a lot of sense for Kento's character, where like he genuinely wouldn't care if you boo him as long as you chant his name. Is all he really actually cares about. That and
Yeah.
Triple Crown.
So, and if you're not subscribed to New Japan World, it's now up on ajpw.tv, so you can watch it there. And that's where I watched it actually this morning.
Yeah, I might do it too after we're done.
So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. And then there's like the interviews in the backstage on the file and everything like that. So we begin with the recent shows, and we start off with Pro Wrestling Noah because we got a lot to talk about in All Japan. So we'll go to Noah first, and we'll well, we'll get to that in a second. But Green Journey in Nagoya on June 17th at the Nagoya International Conference Hall. 833 fans. All Japan drew 935 to this venue during the Champion Carnival. So I can safely say that this is not good.
No, it's not. I mean, the one positive thing I can say is like that's better one they drew in 2019, like Noah, but still, like, I mean, you completely loaded up this card and you like draw less than a random, like,
Relatively.
yeah, like I mean, you have like really like the only titles that were missing from the show were like the junior tag titles and the national title. Every other title was
Mm-hmm.
defended. So I would
Yeah.
I would say that's a loaded card, and you like main evented it with like the hometown guy challenging for the belt. So yeah, the fact that they didn't manage to like crack like 1,000 fans for this is not good. And also, I mean, I'm probably gonna no, I might as well touch on this now, but like this crowd was terrible. Like this crowd was absolutely awful because this show was happening at the same time as the All Japan Auto Award show, and basically
Right.
well, actually, like even for the Auto Award show, I actually missed a good chunk of that because I was out, so I only came back home in time to watch the main event of the Auto Award show, and then afterwards I straight went to like the main event of this show, and it was just so noticeable like how much more quiet this crowd was, and I was like, oh, is this just for the main event? And then I went back and it was just so quiet. Like I think I didn't think it was a bad show. Like I think actually the show in itself was pretty good, but it was really like
Yeah.
dragged down by the crowd just being awful.
Yeah, it was solid, but lacked that life to
Yeah.
it and everything like that. I should add that All Japan show that drew 102 fans more was headlined by Suwama versus Manabu Soya.
Who is also on the show, so
Yeah. Um, yeah, so we will start here. Akitoshi Saito, Seki Yoshioka, and Stallion Rogers defeated Mohamed Yone, Alejandro, and Taishi Ozawa in 7 minutes and 42 seconds with a cross-face lock from Yoshioka on Ozawa. I thought this was a bit livelier um, than like some of the openers you get in Noah because it just might just be a singles match with Ozawa or a Funky Express tag. So I liked actually this match and it's the way that it set up the show.
I the one thing I was thinking while I was watching this was again like, why is Seiki Yoshioka not pushed more? Like, why is he not like at the top of the like junior cards like all the time? He's so good.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah. They've made their picks on
Yeah.
who they want to push in the junior
Yeah.
division.
And we'll get to that
Uh,
when we get to the third match from the top because oh boy.
yeah. Hajime Ohara defeated Hiroki in 7 minutes and 44 seconds with the Muy Bien. I don't know. It's just sort of there. I mean, if Hiroki's broken away from Congo, just now they're just having him be defeated by like the lowest ranked junior now in Congo.
Well, he's kind of the only junior at Congo, so well, I
Oh,
guess
that's
Kondo,
right.
but
No.
yeah, otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it's also like uh, one thing that really bothered me in this match was like Hiroki's like super weak tap out. Like I don't know if you paid attention to that, but like his tap out was just literally him just like I it actually took me a second to realize that he had actually tapped out, and I think the ref took a second as well that that was supposed to be a tap.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That did look weak. I don't know. Maybe he's not into
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Yeah, I also wasn't really into this match, so I get it.
it. Yeah. Next up, we had Kaito Kiyomiya, Amaxka, Junta Miyawaki defeating Hio de Dr. Wagner Jr., Yoshinari Ogawa, and Kai Fujimura in 13:25 with a double arm lock from Kiyomiya on Fujimura. Junta wins, is on the winning team for once. Yeah, I mean, this was very solid.
hmm Yeah, I like this as well. Like I'm wondering because Wagner doesn't really have any challenges, and I guess I don't know if they want to do like another defense before the end one or not. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, obviously Kaito's not gonna challenge him because he's like going to like go to do the G1, and I don't think they want him to be in there as a champion. So yeah,
No.
who knows? I mean, you know what? A Maxa versus Wagner would be an interesting matchup.
Oh, I think it would be actually pretty good. But they are pretty rigid when it comes to juniors challenging for heavyweight
Yeah,
belts, even more so
yeah,
than All Japan, as it turns out.
yeah. Fair enough.
And next up, we had Hideki Suzuki defeating Shuhei Taniguchi in 6 minutes and 56 seconds with the full Nelson hold. Sort of got him with the surprise pin. I gotta say, I was expecting them to stiff each other, but they decided to grapple instead.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I was sort of expecting a different match. It was fine. The
yeah,
grappling wasn't bad, but I wanted them to like beat the crap out of each other.
yeah. Which they've shown they're really, really good at. But I guess what they did afterwards, it makes a bit more sense why
Right.
this like went the way it did, basically. So that
Yeah.
you have like basically like if you stiff the shit out of each other and then like Taniguchi joins the faction, I guess that looks a bit weirder than you just kind of like do some mat work instead.
Yeah, so Suzuki gives Taniguchi the shirt and he's joined Real,
Hmm.
which is actually a good addition,
Yeah, 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 I actually
I
like that,
think.
and they need like a fall guy too, so Taniguchi's perfect for that.
Yeah, and just another guy to be put in there to sort of like cancel out Saxon Huxley.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I actually have
Um,
a thought on Saxon Huxley, but we'll get to that when we get to the tag
oh,
team
we'll get
title
to
match.
that. Next up, Naomichi Marufuji and Eita defeated Daiki Inaba and Atsushi Katoge in 10 minutes with Eita using the Imperial Uno on Katoge. I mean, Marufuji and Eita did a can they coexist
Hmm.
gimmick, and clearly we're not getting along. But I mean, I'm sure many people have probably turned off by angles like that by now, which I completely understand. But I mean, I thought there was actually some good wrestling
Yeah.
in between.
But yeah, I mean, as you said, like doing this angle yet again with Eita, after we just had done this angle with Eita and Ogawa, and before that with Ogawa and Hyatt, like this is just like constant to no one now that like you have something like this going on. So I really hope that this isn't a permanent thing. But the one thing I did like though is basically Marufuji yet again continuing his feud with Daiki Inaba, which has just been going on
Oh,
since
right.
ever since Inaba came into the company. Like whenever these two are like in the ring together, they just I don't know, like it always feels like Inaba like basically like Marufuji's like wife or whatever like cheated on him with like Daiki Inaba or something like that. Because there's just this hatred like that, and they never really follow up on it. But it just is like whenever they're in a match, they just go like completely insane, both of them.
Well, I mean, it's fun and it's like a nice
Oh
little
yes,
thing to have in the running thing in the undercard, and I like stuff like that. But did they ever have a singles match?
I don't
I think
know.
I
Yeah,
think they it would have been last year. I think that's when it started, right?
yeah,
Last spring
yeah. Whenever he
or
came in, and
something.
then it just kept going basically ever since then.
Yeah. Um, or didn't Inaba pin Marufuji in a tag?
Maybe, and he still takes that personally.
I can't for some
Take
reason.
a
I don't know why I
look if
think
I
that.
can find it real quick. Shouldn't be that many matches that they've had. Oh, 30 matches, jeez. That's more than I thought.
I think it was earlier this year because then they sort of
2020,
went after the
actually
tag
March
title.
2022. Now Michi Marufuji
Oh,
defeats Daiki Inaba in 17 minutes.
okay.
That was on the
Well, we
Noah
talked about
Just
that match,
Fine
but
show.
I can't remember that match.
So, oh my God, that drew 441 at Korakuen. Jesus.
Uh,
And the oh no wait, that's the that's the same one that had the Funaki versus Suzuki national title match.
oh, I remember that
Yeah.
one. Mm, interesting. And then next up, Jack Morris, Yohei, and Tadasuke defeated Sean Legacy, Chris Ridgway, and Daga in 12 minutes and 34 seconds with the Tiger Driver from Morris on Legacy. I thought this was pretty good. I'm sort of surprised that Legacy ate the fall, but I guess Ridgway and Daga are going to be challenging for the GHC Junior Tag titles, so
Hmm.
they had to protect them.
Yeah. So I guess I think the result here makes sense, and I think I mean Daga. Like I said, I have kind of mixed feelings on very often, but I think are the like
He's been
he's been
fine
fine. Yeah,
when he's
he's
not
not.
doing stupid stuff.
No, no, no. He's not. He's not dragging down anything. So I think that's his advantage. So I think there actually is like potential for that to be a good match as well.
Yeah. Well, assuming that Daga and Ridgeway don't like start fighting each other.
I mean, there's always that possibility, I suppose. I yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to think about it, but like now you've kind of put that worm in my brain, so now I'm like, yeah, damn it. But I'm curious about, because obviously we're gonna get like the N1 announcement soon. It's like I'm really curious like what Jack Morris will do in the N1. But yeah, that might be something to talk
Oh,
about on another date.
yeah. I think he'll have a great N1
Yeah.
though if he's in it, which I expect him to
Yeah,
be.
I
But we'll
would
talk
I
more
would
about
be
that later.
shocked if he wasn't.
Uh, unless like he's gonna show up in Orlando or something. Go Shiozaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima Access defeated Kenoh and Manabu Soya of Congo in 12 minutes and 19 seconds with a vertical spike from Nakajima on Soya. This was really good. It was kind of short considering it was a match from these teams, but they're getting their win back. Access is now establishing that they're gaining momentum. Go is sort of returning to full strength. And now, of course, we'll talk about later, they're no longer the tag team champions in All Japan.
Yeah,
So they can lose the
yeah.
match. But once again, Soya Soya's having a great 2023. I don't know.
Yeah, he's really like, I
What
think
would
he's
you
kind of
say?
flying under the radar. Like he's just delivering like a lot higher than he has been in past years. Like he's really like he's kind of on fire. Like like a lot of his singles matches were like his match with Wagner was amazing, and he's on this like really good tag run with Kenoh. Like I think Kenoh as well is like someone that is kind of like, everyone knows
Oh,
Kenoh's great, but
absolutely.
like I don't think a lot of people have been talking about how great Kenoh has been this year, and I think it's because he hasn't gotten many chances to show it in singles matches. But
Mm-hmm.
like he like for example, like he's been in a lot of like great like 6-man tag matches, and he's generally the best part of them. Or like same with like the
Yep.
tag matches he's in.
And also all the interpromotional work,
Yeah,
both in All Japan and New
yeah,
Japan.
he really sells that as well.
And sort of Kenoh is sort of uh like at that point in his career where he's peaking in ring and his like character and promos are all peaking at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like that perfect like point where like your body can still hold up and you have character work like down to like a T.
Yeah. Did you see Kenoh go up to the ticket office at Korakuen at the All Japan show and
Yeah.
go, "How are the ticket sales going?"
I mean, that's very hilarious from a Noah wrestler, to be honest.
Especially at Korakuen.
Yes. Well, actually, the reason Noah Korakuens have drawn better than the All Japan Korakuens, so actually, it's just every other building.
That's true. Yeah, they're doing a little bit on Korakuen compared to All Japan right now. And then next up, what you've all been waiting for, GHC Junior Heavyweight Championship. Hayata defeated Dante Leon in 19 minutes and 3 seconds with a cross-style 403 impact. Oh God, where to begin? I mean, this was horrible. And then they got the plunder in. There was a ladder in the ring. I sort of fast-forwarded parts of this match.
Oh, you're smarter than
Um,
me.
I just wanted to see it. Then there was standing around and wandering and not good.
No.
And like Dante Leon did some okay high flying stuff, so I can't totally hate him. Although the plunder is clearly his stuff that he's taking from like the indies in the states and everything like that. But Hayata wasn't great either. I mean, if you're the junior champion, especially the junior ace, generally aces in whatever division or in companies, they are often wrestlers that can carry weaker wrestlers to good matches.
Yeah.
That is not the case here.
No, absolutely not. And this
You
one
know,
was again one of those where like the crowd just being like, they made no noise. Like the one I remember is like Dante Leon like running around trying to like get like do something to get a crowd reaction, and there was like literally one person in the audience responding, and then he like set up a ladder spot to like absolute silence, and I'm just like, what is this even?
yeah, not great.
No. And
Hopefully, someone saw this and was like, "Okay, we got to stop this."
no, I don't
Although,
know, but like, because what I'm feeling as well is that I think Hayata and Dante Leon were probably thinking that what they were doing was good. Like that's the scary
yeah,
part. Like I think they nailed it, you know?
I could see that.
What they really did, that's the problem. Like I could see them trying like, because we're thinking like, oh yeah, they really like Ninja Mac, but there's definitely a contingent there in Noah that really likes Dante Leon, and I really don't
I think so. Yeah,
get
probably.
it.
Yeah, I don't know because he's got a look and whatever.
I mean, yes,
You
it
know, he
is
stands
a
out.
look. That's
It
the correct.
stands out. I mean, except for the fact that any other wrestler that would look like that in Japan would be wrestling in Basement Monstar in front of like 35 people.
We would be wrestling like in the fucking like the fucking hardcore match on the All Japan show with like Black Mansory and like the shitty Black Tiger.
Or that, yeah. Yeah, so not good. Um, and no one challenged Hayata after the match, right?
No, yeah, I don't think, and I
Yeah,
don't think
I
he called
trying to
anyone out
remember.
either. So, but I guess
No.
again because the N1 is coming up, I assume we're not gonna get another
Yeah.
title defense for a while.
And then for the GHC Tag Team Championship, Saxon Huxley and Timothy Thatcher defeated Masa Kitamiya and Yoshiki Inamura when Huxley pinned Kitamiya with the neck hanging bomb in 1706 to make their first successful defense. You know what? I didn't think this was too bad, even though Huxley had some very not great moments. Paul, did you see that Fez press at the end of the match?
Yeah,
That looked horrible.
yeah,
Lou Thez would be rolling over in his grave,
yeah.
and Steve Austin would probably be like burying the guy.
There are like mid 2000s WWE divas that do like better fast presses than that.
And it was the setup for the neck hanging
Yeah,
bomb. And Kitamiya just sold it.
yeah.
He was out.
Like my thing as well, like because like when like they came out, I was like, you know what? Maybe I am turning a little bit of a corner on this like Saxon Huxley Timothy Thatcher theme because I think the entrance is actually really good now. Like I think they actually
Yeah.
bring across like the vibe really well.
Oh, this wasn't a bad match. Just
No,
Huxley did stick
exactly.
out and like drag it down
That's the
from what it could have
thing.
been.
Like it's like Huxley, like he's kind of figuring some stuff out, how to like carry himself and everything in Japan. But then the bell rings and like get stuff like the
Well,
fast
look,
press and like
here's the thing. I get adjusting to Japan, and many foreigners that look weak at first adjust. But he's in his what mid to late 30s, and
yeah,
he's like his
I think
and
it's
his like
38.
big boots and yeah, and his big boots look not so great either,
No,
and his Thez press looks like that. That's not gonna change no matter how many reps in
oh no,
Japan
he's
he
35.
gets.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably not going to change. Like that's how he moves, and that's probably to
Oh,
stay.
curious. Cage match has him as at 190 centimeters, 6'3", instead of the 2 meters that Noah portrays him at. Now I wonder which one is
Well, you
correct.
can get away with well, you can get away with calling him 2 meters in Noah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If you build like Kento at 2 meters in Noah, you could probably get away with it.
Oh yeah. One thing though that I found notable about this match though is who took the pin.
Yes,
Because
Kitamiya got
yeah,
pinned
it
instead of
wasn't
Inamura.
Inamura, so I don't know. I know I know we do this like every show basically. Where we're like, is this now the time where they will start pushing Inamura? But
Well, I would
maybe it's
assume that
finally now.
well, I would assume that Inamura is going to be in the N1 this year.
Yeah, I mean he should be.
Um,
Maybe he'll finally get to pin a non-young boy in a singles match because he still hasn't done that.
it could. I mean, this could just simply be protecting Inamura for the N1, and then the push will end in September. So I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, but they have to do it
Um,
eventually, right? I mean, right,
well,
right?
well, I mean, oh, here's the thing: does he get any higher than Masa Kitamiya is now? Okay, so Kitamiya is a tag team champion. Kitamiya has pinned top names in the N1. Kitamiya has pinned top names in tag matches to set up
Mhm.
title matches. Like, is
And he
that
got
Emira's
and basically his biggest win ever is like beating Nakajima in the hair with his hair cage match.
right? So does does Inamura go above that level?
I think yes, because Kitamiya has never won a singles title, and I think Inamura is winning a singles title. I don't know if that is going to be the GHC heavyweight title, but I do think he can get at the very least to the national title level.
Yeah, I could see him with a nice long national title run. I could.
Yeah, I wouldn't
But
be
we'll
shocked
see.
if they start pushing him now that he might actually be the guy to like beat Wagner.
Yeah, that's a good idea because I think Wagner has built up some cachet. So beating him will mean something. And then we go to the main event for the GHC Heavyweight Championship. Jake Lee defeats Takashi Sugera in 30 minutes and 28 seconds with the FBS to make his third successful defense. The crowd did wake up at towards the end of this match. I thought, we'll be fair.
Yeah.
And you know what, Paul? I think this was Jake Lee's best match in Noah.
I agree. I actually love
and
this
I think
match.
it was. I love this match too, and you could maybe have shaved off 5 minutes, but I thought they built it up well. I thought Sugera kept things interesting. He worked over Lee, but it wasn't like he's gonna beat up Jake, and then Jake's gonna make a comeback at the end for like half an hour and everything like that. I thought Jake showed some fire. Well, by Jake Lee standards, Jake showed some fire at points in this match, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
And could very well be Jake's last defense, too.
Yeah, because he announced afterwards that he's going into the N1 with the title, so we're not going to get another defense before the N1.
And I have a feeling he's losing to the winner of the N1.
Very likely.
So, so at least he goes out on that, and he pinned like 3 of Noah's. He beat most of Noah's top stars.
Yep. I mean, he beat like the number 1 and number 2 on I think in terms of like amount of title reigns, the number 1 and number 2.
Yep. And they're sort of young star.
And
so I mean, that's not a bad.
No, I think it's overall it's been a pretty good title reign. But yeah, I really like the structure of the match where because basically the whole thing was like Jake is the one that challenged Segura rather than the other way around. And then basically the whole a good chunk of the match was like Jake getting into the finding out phase of fucking around, where Segura was just like, okay, you want to challenge me, boy? Okay, I'm gonna teach you a lesson, and then he just destroyed Jake. And it's actually kind of my hot take on Jake. Is I think Jake would be better if he was slightly smaller. I think Jake actually generally would be better if he wasn't as tall as he is. Because he's so tall, he constantly has to do these control sequences that he's not that good at, right? Because it's expected of a guy that is as tall as he is. Whereas here, if he actually gets to work from underneath a bit more, he's actually I think a lot more entertaining.
Okay. Now here's the thing: if Jake isn't 6'3", 6'4", though, what's his upside compared to some other guys?
To be fair, that is the other problem. Yes, he definitely wouldn't have gotten the chances that he has gotten if he wasn't that tall. That is also true.
What would he be if he was Nakajima's height, or or even just 180 centimeters even? I don't know.
Yeah, would he even have gotten to the Triple Crown? I don't know. It is just really hard to say, but it's something I felt while watching this match, because it was just much more entertaining to see Jake work from underneath and trying to get the comeback, rather than just him. I think the worst example of that was the Kaito match, which was just this endless 30 minutes of Jake Lee just controlling Kaito and then just beating him, and it was boring.
Yeah.
And matches like this are just much more entertaining, where Jake needs to work his way back from underneath, and then his actual control sequence is much more interesting because he has had to first earn it basically. But yeah, I think
so
I went 4 1/4 on this. I really like.
Yeah,
it.
So did I. So that's that. I thought it was a good show, sort of dragged down by the crowd, and then the nearly 20 minutes of a junior title match. But it finished, a little strongly, and Jake looked good, so that's good. And then so quickly, I didn't put it in the run sheet, but I got the matches here. The 22nd, at Korakuen Hall for Noah, we've got Kenoh versus Go Shiozaki. Junior tag match is when Ridgeway and Daga challenge Yohei Tadasuke. We got Shuji Kondo versus Hiroki. So I'm sure Hiroki's going to lose that again to another Kongo Junior. We got Hio Dr. Wagner Jr., Ninja Mac, and Dante Leon versus Naomichi Marufuji, Amasuka, and Katoge. That actually could be good. We got Kaito Kiyomiya, Hayata, and Eita versus Yoshinari Ogawa, Leona, and Kai Fujimura.
Oh yeah, right. We haven't talked about like Leona joining Stinger.
I don't know. I mean, look, we said this before on this show. Leona is a perfectly acceptable wrestler now. However, why would you bring him in as a guy with an angle?
Exactly. Like that's the thing. Like he can be a guy on your roster as like a lost post or whatever, but like you don't like make a big deal out of it.
Yeah. And then we have Jake Lee and Jack Morris versus Daiki Inaba and Sean Legacy. That could be really good. We got Saxon Huxley, Timothy Thatcher, Kazuyuki Fujita, Hideki Suzuki, and Shuhei Taniguchi versus Masa Kitamiya, Yoshiki Inamura, Mohamed Yone, Akitoshi Saito, and Stallion Rogers. In a 10-man tag, could be not bad, I think. And then in a tag match, we've got Katsuhiko Nakajima and Seki Yoshioka versus Manabu Soya and Hajime Ohara. That could be pretty good. And Paul, also on that show will be the N1 announcements.
Exactly.
So do you just want to explain to everyone what they should be listening for on this very episode for?
Basically, after this, we're kind of going to move over into All Japan. And then after we're done with the All Japan and Gerard says his goodbyes because he unfortunately is going, or as he said, he's going on vacation to New York. So he won't be able to record tomorrow. So I actually I got a special guest where Andrew Sinclair will join me, and we are going to kind of review the Korakuen show from tomorrow, and as well as kind of go over the N1 participants as well. So stick around. Like it's going to be on the same file. You just need to keep listening. After the All Japan section, we're gonna go right into that. And also, what we're going to do is I'm going to have Gerard write down his predictions for the N1, and then me and Andrew will kind of basically review Gerard's predictions with the power of hindsight, where we will be very smug about it, pointing out what he got wrong.
I might make some bold predictions because we have a big match that got announced for July 15th at Korakuen Hall. Special singles match, no time limit. Katsuhiko Nakajima versus Kento Miyahara. Paul, it's happening. It's finally happening.
Good. That angle at the press conference that they did, where they paid off the whole. You know what? Sacrificing DDT was worth it because we wouldn't have gotten this angle otherwise. So basically, Nakajima destroying DDT by knocking out Endo was worth it because we got this angle at the press conference where we have Nakajima and Kento facing off, and then Kento just knocks out Nakajima with a slap.
Now, there are a couple of things, Paul. In Korakuen Hall, would you aiming higher? Would you aimed higher?
No, I think it still works for Korakuen, especially because you need to find something that like sells Korakuen, right? Like if this doesn't break 1,000, nothing will break 1,000 anymore. Like that Noah or All Japan, quite frankly, can do to break 1,000 at Korakuen.
Now, the next question is this the first of a series?
I mean, that depends whether or not one specific person in this match is going to be in the N1.
Well, you'll have to find out my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, the listener, will find out in like roughly an hour or so. Or, well, you will already know it by the time you listen to this because, again, this isn't coming out until after the announcements, but yes.
This feels like the first match.
Yeah.
That's just all I'll say right now.
Yeah, no, I feel like that as well. And I think I get where you're getting at now with like Korakuen, where like this is the first match, and that's why basically they're doing it at Korakuen first, and then maybe do like the blow off somewhere bigger, like the second match in the N1, and then like a third match somewhere.
And then we've got Marufuji announced he is having a 25th anniversary show in Korakuen in August. people thought he was going to announce his retirement.
Oh, I was one
Which
of
I-
them. I was one of them. I was like, oh no, he's definitely announcing his retirement.
Yeah. Oh, I was just looking at the exact date. They're doing. Oh, it's the N1, but they're doing Cork in 3 days in a row on August 9th, 10th, and 11th.
That's brave.
And it's a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Oh.
Under normal circumstances, I would be like, or like, let's say pre-COVID, I would have been like, yeah, that's a good idea. Now I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. This could either work out really well. I would almost say you should try and sell like bundle tickets, basically, where it's like
Yeah.
you get like, I don't know, 20% off if you buy tickets to all three shows at the same time.
Yeah. So that's ambitious, especially for what Noah draws when they do
Yeah.
a midweek Cork and now. So yeah, but it is what it is.
Definitely a downgrade though from Marufuji's 20th anniversary, which when
Yeah,
ran
he ran that in
Hall.
Sumo Hall.
Yeah. To be fair, they
Yeah.
had to do that because they got like Kenta, aka Hideo Itami at the time. And
Yeah.
if that show hadn't drawn well, Noah would have gone out of business. So
Yeah, and given those dates, I don't know if Kenta will be making an appearance for the 25th anniversary.
no, I have my doubts, but I don't know if you've heard, but like like there seems to be something going on there with him in New Japan, and like the match he was supposed to have with Punk at Forbidden Door.
Well, I'm hearing multiple different things. I'm hearing Punk didn't want it, and I'm hearing Kenta didn't want it. Although Kenta was working the angle on Twitter, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have enough information at this point to make a decision, and I think some people saying some things are only talking to the notorious Punk camp.
Yes, probably. But you know
So
what?
we'll have to see what
He is
else happens.
washed, but you know, if he wants to like end his career, Noah, like I'm not opposed to that.
He might even get a better paycheck than he gets in New Japan.
Yeah.
Um,
And they can
you
like
know.
and they can continue that angle he was doing with Ishiki and Amura.
I think a Kenta retirement show would probably draw more if it
Yeah.
was in Noah.
And it would be
Too.
weird for him to have a retirement show in New Japan. Like that just feels wrong.
It would be like that Nakanishi retirement show in Korakuen or something.
Yeah.
Or Takashi Iizuka, or you got to do more than just like a Korakuen retirement show.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
Okay, so we will move on to All Japan in a moment, but first we have an ad. So today's podcast is brought to you by the Bet Stamp app, which is helping thousands of people win at sports betting for free. The same way travelers use Google Flights or Expedia to find the best prices, bettors can now use BetStamp to do the same. When you place a bet, the odds given by a sportsbook will determine how much you can possibly win, even when betting on the same outcome. Different sportsbooks will offer varying payouts, and these differences can be huge. Thankfully, BetStamp allows you to easily line shop for the most profitable odds across all sportsbooks. You can click on any matchup and instantly see all the different odds for game lines, player props, and even futures bets. Line shopping is the simplest way to find an edge in sports betting and maximize your chances of winning long term. On average, BetStamp users win an extra $1,000 yearly just by line shopping. You can find the BetStamp app at the Apple iOS Store, Google Play Store, or through your browser at www.betstamp, that's BETSTAMP.app. To access all these benefits, sign up using the promo code VOW and start your journey to successful sports betting today. If you forget to use the code upon sign up, you can always enter our code in your BetStamp account settings afterwards. So check it out. And now, Paul, we move on to All Japan Pro Wrestling. I gotta say, I'm really feeling it right now.
Oh yeah, no. There's definitely
This is
a
the
lot
best
of
they've
momentum here.
been. This is the best they've been in, dare I say, like 4 years, going back to 2019.
Yeah, I would say maybe even longer than that because they have more depth than they've had in like pre-Wrestle One split, I want to say.
Well, this is the most depth they have pre-Wrestle One split. I mean, look, even in the dog days of 20 20 and 2021, I would still argue that the undercards were getting better and filling out more than they were at, like, when people thought Kento was at his peak in 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Yeah.
Just because, they debuted more rookies, and I think they were smarter about the outsiders they used, and there was a lot less like old guys. Well, they still use a lot of old guys even as outsiders, but there's actually a lot less if you go and you look at some of those All Japan cards from several years ago after the Wrestle One split and everything like that.
Yeah, there's some dire. I mean, there's some people that were on some of, not the same people, but like some similar gimmicks that were on those cards that were like a lot higher up the card. Like I still remember, like, when I know we had like a show here with a lot of tigers on it, but there was a solid period there, solid 6 months, where like just All Japan undercards were just overrun with all kinds of like different tigers, like Black Tiger 7, you had like Super Tiger 2, and like you had a great tiger then, which I don't think is the same great tiger as this one, but like, yeah,
No.
it was really dire.
Yes. And so all of those long investments have paid off. I mean, you can still argue that like Akiyama is in like work has still like is really still like blooming in All Japan.
Yeah, that's why my take as well on the like Super J-Cast one, when I was asked what would I do to like fix Noah basically, and my thing was like merge the Noah and DDT dojo so Noah can get like some of that like Akiyama trainee goodness.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just a note, Atsuki and Yuma Aoyagi won the United National Tag Team titles in Tenru Project, like we sort of expected. They beat Masayuki Kono and Yusuke Kodama they beat Kohei Sato and Sushi in the first round, and then they beat Masayuki Kono and Yusuke Kodama in the finals.
That probably was actually a fairly decent match.
Yeah? Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
it
know.
sounds good on paper, but yeah.
It aired on pay-per-view, so I don't know. But sometimes those appear elsewhere. They were on like IWTV, even some Tenru Project stuff.
Interesting.
So maybe it'll come out at some point. And so we start off with All Japan Dynamite Series 2023 at Korakuen Hall in front of 984, which is up. But I don't know. I still think that main event should have drawn more than 984.
Yeah,
that
sort of cracked 1,000. That's why I mean, like, if Nakajima versus Kento doesn't crack 1,000, then like I really don't know what either promotion can do to like get there.
Mm-hmm. Black Menso Ray and Oji Shiba defeated Ryuki Honda and Masao Hanabata in 4 minutes and 37 seconds with the cradle from Menso Ray on Hanabata. Menso Ray getting a rare win, and Oji Shiba is no longer like the lost post of All Japan. It's Hanabata. Well, Hanabata always has been, but
yeah,
Shiba's doing a lot of these jobs.
Yeah, but I think some of that was like him coming in and kind of taking his lumps early on, and I feel like they might actually like do something more with him now.
I think so. Yeah, and it was a good opener. I mean, all those guys are solid. And then next up, Kotaro Suzuki and Yutani defeated Yoshitatsu and Rising Hayato in 8 minutes and 13 seconds with the endless waltz from Suzuki on Yoshitatsu.
This man is on his way out, right? Like, has to be.
I mean, if you're looking at cutting the fat.
Oh, no, absolutely. He's the
someone that's probably getting paid a decent amount by their standards, and that adds nothing.
Yeah.
It's him.
Absolutely. No.
Because there's a couple of young wrestlers on the market, you know.
Yeah. Or in theory, you might also need the money that you're paying him for like other people's salary increases as well. Like, I'll gladly take whatever Yoshitatsu gets paid. I'll just take that salary and I'll split it between the Aoyagi brothers.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and not the first junior that will pin Yoshitatsu this week.
No. Which I think that's like, I think we were already getting that feeling that he's on his way out, but like I think now that he's like completely getting jobbed out by like even juniors, I think it's even more obvious that he's like gonna be gone relatively soon.
You never know. He's not the first
person. He's gonna win the Triple Crown in like 3 months.
He's not the first person to. Well, I mean, the thing is, there's been people that have clearly eaten shit in this company and left, and people that have eaten shit and then didn't leave. So
Hokuto Omori.
But Yoshitatsu's different. Like, you know, he could just be bored.
I mean, he's also like 40 something now, right?
Yeah, he's in his mid 40s. He's
Yeah.
45, 46 now.
Like I wouldn't be shocked if
Also,
he just kind of like, I don't know, goes on like the real Japan like stuff and all of that.
he'll be 46 on August 1st.
Yeah.
He's like isn't he like Tanahashi's age basically?
Yeah, because I think like they're like the same class.
Yeah. I mean, Yoshitatsu was really good young lion,
Yeah, and then he went to
which people forget.
WWE and just he got that like WWE never improve thing on him at that point.
And did you see what DDT did?
I think you might need to be a bit more specific than that.
Okay, so they announced that they were going to have a former WWE superstar
Oh
on the show.
yeah, where they're like, oh, it's Yoshitatsu. I mean, look, if he wants to jump to DDT, sure, but like that's not gonna help that promotion at all.
That's not going to get you more coverage on this show.
No, that's also not gonna get you more people in the building. I mean, maybe. I mean, because
Yeah.
they're drawing worse than Big Japan in some buildings, so maybe it actually does, but like not a lot.
And then the match was actually good. It's
Yeah.
funny. Well, because Hayato's like really vibing right now. I guess. Next up, the great team of El Lindemann and Yu Iizuka defeat Hikaru Sato and Dan Tamura in 8 minutes and 27 seconds with the German suplex hold from Lindemann on Tamura. Frankly, it was too short, and I thought the Iizuka and Sato stuff ruled.
Yeah. No, that was.
And Sato's out here with his like valet tudo shorts now.
Yeah, no, but I feel like he like obviously like whenever you can get Sato to do like any kind of shoot style stuff, he's gonna like excel at that.
Yeah. And next up, special six-man tag match: Satoshi Kojima, Taiyo Kea, and Kaz Hayashi defeated the still unnamed unit of Minoru Suzuki, Naruki Doi, and Hokuto Omori in 10 minutes and 16 seconds when Kea used the TKO 34th on Omori. Look, Kea wasn't bad. I mean, he moves around a little like he's older, but not bad for someone that hasn't wrestled in almost 4 years, I thought.
Yeah, I think it might have actually helped him that he hasn't wrestled in 4 years, where like he probably had some time to like let his body recover and all of that. So
yeah, I mean it's entirely possible that it would not be moving very well if he kept wrestling and everything like that. Got a nice little reaction. I thought the match was fine and good. It was fun.
Yeah, no, the match was
not...
good for what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, Yuji Nagata, Takuya Nomura, and Fuminori Abe defeated Suwama, Yuma Anzai, and Ryo Inoue in 9 minutes and 48 seconds with the Nagata Lock 54 from Nagata on Inoue. I mean, I thought this was pretty darn good, but too short again. I mean, Nagata teaming with astronauts is incredible, honestly. Yeah. Glad we got it at least once, although it would be awesome if we got it some more.
Make that effect. Like, I know Nagata's technically kind of weirdly an evolution, but not really. But like, I know this is like an actual trio that I want to see. Like they, like I know that All Japan like TV trios titles like they don't mean anything, but like, look, if that gets me more of this team, then I'm all in favor of them doing something there. But like, yeah, even if they don't, if you just keep them together, whenever Nagata wants to do like a 6-man in All Japan or whatever, like I think that's like the team he needs the team because he just vibes with them really well. Like I think he fits their style really well.
Yeah, for sure. And then next up, the first Shuji Ishikawa 20th anniversary match. Shuji Ishikawa, Kohei Sato, and Renai Abe defeated Jun Saito, Rei Saito, and Kono in 13 minutes and 8 seconds with a giant slam from Ishikawa on Kono. Well, it was a match.
It happened.
Probably the weakest match. I don't think it was horrible or anything. It was definitely the weakest match on the show.
Yeah. I mean, Sato is just completely done at this point. Like, there's nothing left.
Yep. And Ren, I don't know. Ren needs more polish,
yeah.
I think.
He needs to get out of GTO. Like, he needs to get out of there. Like I said, he probably needs to, like, go to, like, All Japan full-time, maybe even go back to the dojo so they can, like, teach him how to, like, actually make his shit look more believable. Because I think he's still working too light for his size. It's hurting him.
Well, I mean, JTO's turned out some good talent.
Yeah, but they've
But
generally
it's
improved more after they've left JTO. Like Tamura got like a lot better when he went to Great.
true. So, yeah, maybe they sort of have to do that. But then next up for the PWF World Junior Heavyweight Championship, Atsuki Aoyagi defeated Kaito Ishida in 13 minutes and 10 seconds with a Firebird Splash to make his first defense on his second reign. Paul, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I thought this was awesome and the best match of the show.
No, I agree. I thought this was awesome as well. Like I went like 4.25 on this. This rocked.
Yeah. I loved Ishida getting the boos for just like kicking like Atsuki whenever he would like go for an aerial move and stuff like that. It's a
And
that's
it
a
was also
great
like
like
non-stop action as well. Like
yeah,
it was just go
and
go
like
go.
really hot
Yeah,
finishing sequence I thought. So it was really good.
yeah. No, and I think Atsuki looked awesome here as well. Like I think Kaito is like someone that mixes really well with him because he can base for him really well because he knows how to do that from Dragon Gate. But he
Mhm.
also has like a style that is kind of opposite of Atsuki, where he's just like this guy that will just kick the shit out of you rather than
Mhm.
fly around himself. So yeah, I think that actually is like a style, like a mixture of styles that works really well, and it worked really well here.
After the match, Al Lindemann came out.
That should be another good
Paul,
one.
that's going to happen. Yeah, on July 2nd is the match. Paul, I got to say, All Japan is walking all over great right now.
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, look, hey, but they gave the great champion a Triple Crown challenge, so like it's well deserved that like they get to like drop their guys out.
I got to assume that like half the All Japan roster is going to be on that Sumo Hall show, that great Sumo Hall show, right?
Yeah, I
Like
mean, it
this has
has to
got to be
be like this.
start
This
of
this
the.
is like the payment basically, where it's like, okay, we'll send Kento. Okay, would you give up a Kento title match loss to T-Hawk if they just get to walk all over Great like for like the next couple of months until the Sumo Hall show?
Well, then why did they have T-Hawk beat Kento in the Champion Carnival?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, but
They're not going to give them
you can't
two.
have Kento
Well,
win the G-Rex title.
you could,
I guess so.
but who does Kento drop it to? Like
Yeah,
Hayato
exactly. That's
Tamura?
the problem.
They're not going to let one of the small guys beat Kento.
No, they're not gonna have a Lindemann beat Kento. That's not happening. Is Tamura big enough for that? I guess.
He's not as tall as you think. He's like 5'10" or 11.
Yeah.
He looks big and great,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's somewhat credible.
I guess Kawakami maybe. He's definitely tall enough.
Yeah. But I don't think they're going to make him champ.
Yeah.
That's a waste. Like, with all due respect, I like Kawakami a lot. But if Kento like were to win that title, you'd have to have him drop it to like an Ito or a Soma Watanabe or you know, someone on the up and up, or like I said, Hayato Tamura.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I
So
mean, it definitely feels like that this is like Great is taking some lumps so they can like not embarrass themselves completely by running Sumo Hall.
yeah, for sure. And I'm assuming that like you'll have some top All Japan names and big matches on that show.
Yeah. No, I think that's safe to say.
Mm-hmm. And then next up we have
Actually,
for the
maybe
World
just
Tag
real
Team
quick
Champ.
as well on that because something that so what I actually looked out for like in the junior title match as well is like when Ishida's injury happened. So basically,
Oh right,
All
yes.
Japan got revenge for T-Hawk breaking Ishida's arm, where Kaito
Yes.
Ishida came out on the next Great Show and he broke his arm. And I was looking for it, and I think it happened on the finish. I think he actually
Oh.
Atsuki actually like caught Ishida's like arm with his knee coming down on the Firebird Splash because Ishida was then holding his arm, like because he was fine until then, and then like immediately after the match he was holding his arm.
Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah, I saw that. Friend of the show, Liam Jones, was not amused.
No.
He vowed revenge on All Japan.
But then he also realized when I pointed out to him that it's All Japan getting revenge for Shino, he realized that, oh, that's actually the case, yes.
And then in the main event for the World Tag Team Championship, Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi defeated Kenoh and Manu Busoya in 21 minutes and 50 seconds with a shutdown German suplex hold from Miyahara on Soya. They fail in their third defense. We have the 96th World Tag Team Champions Once again, Kento and Yuma are still a team after all these ups and downs. I mean, this was really good too. I know I was talking to a lot of people that even think that this was like the best match of the show and everything like that. I thought, but I like that junior match a little better.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like sort of like the star here. And his last few minutes with Miyahara was awesome and everything.
Yeah, no, I think Sawyer is just like weirdly he was kind of the baby face on the finish, which sounds weird when he's in there with Yuma Aoyagi and Kento. But like yeah, he kind of was he was just really good, like as like the fiery guy trying to like basically not fall to Miyahara, and then ultimately like Miyahara is just too good and he just brings him down. Yeah. Like this was also really good. Like I agree that the junior title match was better, but I also went 4 stars on this one. This was like a great way
Yeah.
to like end the like Kenoh and Sawyer title reign.
Absolutely. And this is like another issue with this attendance number. This was like announced like 4 days in advance.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like that's maybe the biggest downside in All Japan right now is like they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by like announcing like their cards like really shortly before the shows. Like I think that was an issue with the Ota show as well.
Yeah. Although I think in July they've announced most of the big matches. We'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
Which is a good idea. And then so we move on to 2 days later at Ota City General Gymnasium. In front of 1,966 fans. Now, that's down from the Champion Carnival Finals, but that's more than Ishikawa versus Nagata.
Yeah.
And it's had a lot less outsiders.
And it had a guy in the main event who's less than a year in.
So I don't think that's a bad number.
No, I agree. Like I think really like the number from Ishikawa versus Nagata, I think that's actually a pretty big feather in Naito's cap. Because I think it's clear, like, the difference that him just being on the card made.
For sure. Oh yeah, Naito was the draw.
Yeah.
Or a big factor in the draw, doing like 2,400 last time.
But I think this is a respectable number. Like I said, Yuma, like this is an out like the main event was an outsider versus a guy that has less than a year's experience. I think that's a massive, not a massive success, but I think you can call it a success given the circumstances. And the fact that you only announced the card, like that the show had like a couple of days build, really.
Yeah, for sure. So first up, we had Evolution versus Big Japan, Hikaru Sato and Dan Tamura versus Takuya Nomura and Kazumasu Yoshida of Big Japan. Tamura won with a Death Valley bomb on Yoshida in 7 minutes and 49 seconds. Solid opener. But you're not going to give these guys the time they need to really put on a banger. Because I like Yoshida.
Yeah. You know what my take on him was though, like because I was like trying to think who he reminds me of, and weirdly his look reminds me of Nunzio.
I could see that actually. That's funny. And then next up, Evolution Girls versus Sekigun. Mayumi Ozaki and Maya Yuki defeated Chi-Chi and Sunny in 12 minutes and 13 seconds with a Fisherman's Buster from Ozaki on Sunny. I mean, this was like All Japan Women in 1985. The heels just terrorized the young girls for like a bunch of time and whipped them, beat them up. And then, they get a couple of hope spots in the end and they get put away. I mean, this got like a lot of time for the undercard at 12 minutes. So I felt like this was like, okay, we're going to get these reps for these women here kind of thing. I mean, I enjoyed the match, but it was the same thing after a while, just them beating the crap out of them. And I have to say, I think Sunny has some potential there as like a high speed type. Chi-Chi obviously has charisma, but I don't know. She needs some more work in the ring. I mean, again, this is only Chi-Chi's 5th match and Sunny's 4th, so I should temper that.
No, but I can see where you're coming from. Sunny's lane is a lot more like obvious. I think Chi-Chi, like because she is charismatic, I actually think if she eventually like goes like the Ozaki or Yukihi route, I think might work for her. Because I think actually she might be someone that works as a heel too. and then
Oh yeah,
maybe
like
if
a
she
I'm a hotter
doesn't,
than you type heel
yeah.
type thing. Yeah, I could see that definitely. Spoiler. Well, not really a spoiler, but I have obtained evolution videos,
Ooh.
so we'll have to talk about that in the future at some point.
Oh yeah,
Sooner,
do
I
pass
haven't
them on
watched
to
them
me.
yet.
Yeah.
Yes, I will, and it's from the first three shows, so we'll have to watch those
Mhm.
and get some thoughts.
Yeah.
Because I heard the
We'll continue to eat the super bomb cat. No wait. Oh god.
jumping bomb
Jumping
audio.
bomb jumping bomb cast lunch on evolution coverage.
Uh, I was told that Suri versus Chi-Chi was actually very good, which is not surprising,
I mean, yeah,
I guess.
that makes sense.
Anyway, into the most hilarious match of the show. Naruki Doi defeated Yoshitatsu in 4 minutes and 31 seconds with the crucifix hold.
Yeah. This was
I
something.
I actually expected Yoshitatsu to lose, but the speed at which it happened, I did get me to laugh.
Yeah, he just basically they just roll around for like 4 minutes and then Doi just pins him.
I thought like 8-9 minutes,
Yeah.
you know. And then next up, special six-man tag match, which had like all sorts of plunder in the ring. Atsushi Onito, Toru Owashi, and Karbal Ito defeated Black Menso Ray, Black Tiger, and Great Tiger in 7 minutes and 23 seconds with a Nodawa Otoshi from Owashi on Menso Ray. Paul, we were wrong. Great Tiger wasn't Jado. That was Mitsuya Nagai. That
Yeah.
had to have
Oh
been,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But they have very similar heads. They're bald, long faces.
Yeah, but it would have been weird if it had been Jado, like it's like kind of out of nowhere as well. But yeah, I think the guy makes a lot more sense because he has been like there regularly and everything. But yeah,
And he's
this
also
wasn't good. This was bad.
yeah. Oh, I mean, this was way worse than any of those like current bomb death matches for the All Asia Tag
Yeah,
Team titles
those at least have the exploding bat. Like there's like a lot of like weird stuff
that are
going on. There was
really
nothing
loud.
here.
No, it was awful.
Like
And
the
it
best
felt longer
spot
than
of the entire match was when they did the whole countdown sequence and then Black Man's Ray just
yeah,
ignored it and ran into the ring. That's when the match peaked. It was literally before the match even started.
yeah. I find it interesting that they have Black Mensa Ray basically like the referee of Evolution.
Yeah.
Like that, we're gonna have an actual trained wrestler in there with them to guide them type thing. I don't know.
I wouldn't be shocked if he was like probably involved in the training as well.
It wouldn't, and I think he might be involved doing stuff backstage in All Japan too,
Yeah.
because they'll leave him off shows, and they don't do that often, but sometimes they do, and he's like on commentary and stuff.
Yeah, and like he's been there for like a while now, so like yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he's like transitioning more like into like backstage roles as well as time goes on.
Yeah, he's one of the longest tenures there. He's been there since not that long after the Wrestle One split, right?
Yeah, because he basically was like one of the guys, like because he was just floating around, and then they
Hmm.
like brought him in to like I think at first probably just to like fill holes,
They
and then
pushed
he
him.
just yeah, and then he just stuck around, and then he like transitioned into
Yeah,
the Black Manta Ray gimmick, and yeah, no, like he's been there like let's see, yeah, he's been there since like 2014, so like he's getting close to
yeah,
10 years in the promotion now.
yeah. So yeah, he's probably, and he's not that old too. He's probably what, 37, 38?
37, yeah.
Yeah. But he's probably like keeping his body in good shape considering his role now and everything like that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
no, I think so. Like, because he's like most of his matches he just does comedy, so like he doesn't really bump all that much. Like he just
like bumps for the big guys,
yeah,
but that's about it.
exactly.
And then though it's funny because those like All Asia tag matches go longer, way longer than this, but don't feel like they drag as much as this one did. Just
Yeah,
one of the worst matches in All Japan this year, other than that All Asia tag match with Nosawa.
yeah. No, definitely. Oh, jeez. I'm just sorry. I'm just looking at like Black Mansour's Nakajima's Yohei Nakajima's. Oh, I know I'm shoe trash unmasking him, but I'm looking at his stats right now. just to like see like how many matches he's generally had, to like see like for his body. Um, do you do you want to take a guess how many matches he had in 2011?
He probably had like something like 300 matches because wasn't he in that like Super Delphin every
Yeah, he was in
day
the
company?
Okinawa. He was an Okinawa Pro. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
he had a total of 397 matches that year.
Jeez, no wonder he wants to like take it easy and he's not even 40.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because like he has 2,435 matches, and it's probably like a good chunk of those
He
are like
did what Hulk
in the
Hogan
first
only
couple of
can
years.
lie about.
Yeah, yeah. Like he like
Do
basically like
390 matches in a year.
like 2008 to 2012, and like which is like when he leaves Okinawa. It's like 161, 279, 348, 397, and 240 matches.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of mileage.
Yeah. So I'd also rather go and be a comedy guy in the opener if I was him. Yeah, that's very understandable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's probably doing a lot of comedy in Okinawa Pro too, but
True, but like it's still different if you need to do it three times a day because you need to like wrestle more matches than there are days in a year.
Yeah,
Not even
eat
close.
that, Hulk Hogan.
There's an entire
Take
month's
that.
worth of matches that he had more than there are days in a year.
Jeez. And then next up, we had a special New Age Mania X special six-man tag match. Satoshi Kojima, Osamu Nishimura, and Yutaka Yoshie defeated Ryoki Honda, Hoko Tuomori, and Ryo Inoue in 10 minutes and 34 seconds with a lariat from Kojima on Honda. Paul, this was the thing that bothered me the most of these shows. Not only did the young guys lose when you could have had like Honda pinned Yoshi, but Honda ate the pin instead of Inoue. And now Honda feels like
Kojima getting his win back from the champion carnival.
It just feels like Honda's spinning his wheels, and there's other matches that have been announced that look like he's going to be the guy that takes the fall.
Yeah, it's always weird because like it feels like it always happens when Ishino's injured.
Yeah, that Honda sort of like is lost.
But then like you don't have to have him be the guy that takes the pin either. Like, you know, even if you don't have any plans for him.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, whatever. But I mean, I thought it was a solid match. I just didn't, the finish wasn't great.
Yeah, I mean,
especially
but I need to say like Yoshi is moving around even worse these days. Really.
Yeah.
Like especially if you have Nishimura behind him who's older and moves like at like twice the speed.
I love Nishimura.
Oh yeah, Nishimura's like he probably would be like wrestling like more regularly if he was like an actual guy and like did like local government.
Yeah. And then, well, and also, like, All Japan, like, clearly, if you look at all of some of the branding and everything, they are pushing that this is the new generation. And they lost to the old guys.
Yeah, that is a weird, like, disconnect. I mean, that was kind of, like, generally the show, right? It's like...
True. Next up, Gurentai versus Voodoo Murders. Minoru Suzuki, Taioke, and Mazada defeated Jun Saito, Rei Saito, and Toshizo with a gotch-style pile driver from Suzuki and Toshizo in 9 minutes and 42 seconds. Once again, Paul, this was a match that happened.
Yep. Yeah, this sure happened as well.
I fell asleep during this match.
Oh, okay, no, it wasn't that bad, but I also watched it today, so... yeah.
Because I was watching live and it was like 4 or 5 in the morning.
But I already, like, as I said, I watched it today and I'm already struggling to like come up with things I remember from this match, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, Taioke, who didn't have a shirt on in the first match at Korakuen, had a black tank top on in this match. And Alan, when I was on his podcast, speculated that perhaps he had been out partying with Gurentai a little too hard.
That would not shock me either.
Like, Minoru Suzuki hasn't seen him in probably a few years. Like, hey, and I bet you...
let's go out on the town in Roppongi or whatever, yeah.
I'm sure Nozawa was there too.
Oh, I mean, Masada is in this match. Like, Nozawa was backstage. And that's the thing, they probably went out partying before, and then they pretty much this match ended. They go backstage and probably, like, they all just immediately leave and go drinking.
Yes, definitely.
Well, not immediately,
and
because
then,
Suzuki still had to be there for the angle after the tag match.
Yeah,
otherwise,
And then next up, Shuji Ishikawa 20th anniversary match second. Daisuke Sekimoto and Yuji Okabayashi defeated Shuji Ishikawa and Suwama in 21 minutes and 52 seconds with a golem splash from Okabayashi on Ishikawa. Paul, they did it. They turned back the clock.
Yeah.
I
No,
was shocked with how great this was.
Yeah.
Like Ishikawa looked like he hasn't in a few years, I thought, especially when he was doing that slap battle with Okabayashi towards the end. Well, I mean, it was really Okabayashi and Ishikawa who like pulled most of the weight, but I mean, everyone still looked good, and this was great.
Yeah. No, like I thought this was awesome. As you said, like they turned back the clock. Like Ishikawa very clearly was like, I'm just gonna ignore all of the pain that I'm going to be in after this. Fuck it. I'm going all out on this one. And yeah, same with Sekimoto. Like Sekimoto is also kind of like, I think he turned back the clock a bit as well. Like Okabayashi is still great and Suwama's also still good. Like especially in tag matches. So like those didn't surprise me, but like definitely Sekimoto and Ishikawa were the two that were like, okay, we actually want to try for this one, and they did, and it was awesome. Yeah, this really like harkened back to like prime like Violent Giants versus strong BJ matches. Yeah, this was awesome. I was surprised though that like Okabayashi was the guy that got the pin here.
Yep. And I felt like this was like a Okabayashi goodbye for all Japan for a while match, then a Ishikawa 20th anniversary match.
Oh yeah,
after the match,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, with like the TFL like handshake between Ishikawa and Okabayashi afterwards.
Well, yeah, I mean, it felt like this guy. Well, he's going on a hiatus, but it felt like he might be gone for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we also got like the pictures right from the Fortune Dream show as well. With where like I think it was like Kenoh and someone teaming against Okabayashi and someone, and there was like pictures going around of like Kenoh and like Okabayashi basically like hugging after the match and everything. So, I mean,
Yes,
I
I
still
saw
don't
that.
believe he's retiring, but maybe the hiatus is going to be a bit longer than I think it's going to be.
He's gone at least 6 months, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe he's back by like New Year if he's coming back. But I still think he is coming back.
Yeah. Then next up, we forgot to mention that Atsuki and Rising Hayato challenged after the tag title match at Korakuen. They said they wanted to prove themselves at juniors and that kind of thing. So for the World Tag Team titles, Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi defeat Atsuki Aoyagi and Rising Hayato in 24 minutes and 59 seconds with a shutdown German suplex hold from Miyahara on Hayato. This was amazing, and I thought this was the best match of the show.
Yeah, no, this was really really awesome. Like these, because I really love the story of just like like you have like the two heavyweights, like the two like top stars of the promotion, just going against the two top stars of the junior division, and they went like all out here, and this really felt like Atsuki. But I think especially like, I mean, Atsuki was good in the match, but I think really this was like the Rising Hayato like show, right? Like he was the clear standout of the match.
Rising Hayato, the biggest star, not in New Japan.
Yeah, no, I mean he kind of in a weird way felt like the biggest star in this match. But I mean it also was very clear that the other three were like, oh no, like yes, like Miyahara and Yuma are going to win, but like the goal of this match is to get Hayato over. Like he is
I mean,
he gained so much in losing here.
Hayato broke free from a shutdown.
Yeah, like they don't give that to everyone, like especially not juniors.
No, and I thought Kento and Yuma were great bullies.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, like but I mean especially like Yuma and Atsuki, like generally like that always works out because again they're brothers, so like it's like I don't know who said it, but it's basically like whenever you're in there with like family or friends, you know you can lay it in a bit more because you know they're not gonna like blame you, and it's like that's what you always get with like Yuma and Atsuki, but like Yuma is just extra vicious in there.
They had that awesome match like a month or two ago too.
Yeah, exactly, like the singles match, and they had it again here in the tag match where like Yuma's just like, oh no, I can like lay in those slaps like real good because I know Atsuki like he's not gonna care. But the one thing though for Hayato is, did you see the bruise on his back?
Isn't that a temporary tattoo?
So that's what I was thinking. So at first I was like, is that a tattoo?
He posted that on his social media.
Oh, okay. Because then I thought like, was that like a gigantic bruise instead? Because it kind of looks like one.
It does, yeah. It's like purple color.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. So I was like, oh, is that some sort of injury that he's working through? But okay, I guess it's just a like because I was like, is it a tattoo? But then it's Japan and it's really kind of not socially accepted to have tattoos, especially back tattoos, which have like
Unless you're
very
Zeus
clear
in the
implications.
bodyguard. Unless you're Zeus in the bodyguard.
Yeah, but like there's also like some implications there as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
like
Oh, for sure.
because like I'm going to Japan like obviously at the beginning of next year, and I've booked
Mhm.
like an onsen stay for that as well. And like one of the
Mhm.
rules they have there is like you're not allowed to like have tattoos if you're going to the onsen.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. So, I mean, and then after the match, Minoru Suzuki and Hokuto Omori came out to challenge, and then they're going to challenge in Osaka later in July. And then finally to the main event, Yuji Nagata defeated Yuma Anzai in 21 minutes and 6 seconds with a backdrop hold to make his third defense. This felt like a big deal, a big fucking deal. Stan Hansen came out and Masanobu Fuchi. You know?
Yeah. No, they built this up. Yeah.
Nagata came out with the actual Triple Crown.
Yeah, that was really
The
cool.
3 belts. Yeah. And so they made it like a big deal. And this was a really good match, I thought. I thought Yuji Nagata's singular performance was incredible. He was amazing in this match.
No, he
There's
really
a
led.
few
He
things.
really led Anzai through this match.
Yeah, of course.
Because Anzai's
Now,
clearly
there's
like
a few
his
things.
potential is really obvious, but like again, he has less than a year's experience. Like he needs someone to help him through a big match like this.
Yeah, I mean, there was the clunky stuff like the moonsault and everything like that.
No, yeah, that was maybe don't. Given the like history of people in this business that have done moonsaults, maybe rethink that one, especially if yours looks like that.
Well, I mean, I'll say this. He had said in an interview before the match he was going to debut a new move to beat Nagata. So that makes sense. What didn't make sense is that he misses the moonsault and then covers Nagata.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. And I also
That's
think
what
the
really took
forum
me out of
wasn't
it.
that good either. Like it was a bit like uncoordinated.
Yeah. That being said, I would still argue he's better than 80 or 90% of wrestlers, this 9 months into their career.
Oh no, absolutely. Like I think that's
And he's going to be a star.
Yes.
He got on the cover of Shoe Pro.
Yeah.
So he's a big deal.
Yeah.
But
if you're somehow someone that doesn't like Yuma Anzai, then I don't think I've ever encountered a person like that, but if you somehow are, All Japan is not gonna be for you for like a long time, because this guy is going to be at the top of this promotion for a long time. And it's gonna
sooner
be
rather
sooner
than
rather
later,
later.
I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like 2 years. In 2 years he's gonna be the ace probably.
So he wrestled the next day on that Blue Justice show. And then it was announced that he tore his tricep. But Paul, he's going to be back on like July 8th.
Yeah,
like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I don't know if that's just like a weird translation. Is what I'm starting to think, but like, because we're just working off of like translations of like the Japanese articles, right?
Okay,
but like maybe it's not an actual tear.
The translation from Shoe Pro says he'll be back July 8th.
Yeah.
The All Japan's website just says he's missing the next 2 shows, the dates of the next 2 shows.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening here.
So maybe this isn't actually a tear. Like that's what I mean. Like maybe the translation
Can you pull
it
your
translated
tricep?
into tear, and maybe it's like a pull or like something.
A bruised?
Yeah.
Can you bruise your muscles? I'm not an expert.
I mean,
on
no, you
sports.
can have like bruise on your muscles, but I think you can definitely like pull like a muscle real bad that like it causes you to miss like few shows, especially if you want to like let it rest a bit, or if it's like a partial tear. Like it's definitely not a full tear, obviously. Like maybe it's like a little bit torn and he just needs some like rest to let it like
but
recover.
That still seems like a short rest.
Yeah.
It's really only a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Or he has like John Cena like healing powers.
So you mean he has access to the good steroids?
We got to get more Japanese wrestlers into stem cells.
Oh yeah, I'm actually surprised that hasn't really made its way over.
They got to take that flight to Colombia.
Yeah.
And get those stem cells.
Yeah, they need to like find a good hookup for that.
Like we've got to get Kenta some stem cells.
Oh yeah, make him like recover, like get that into his knees, and he can actually start moving again.
I mean, look, if you look at Rey Mysterio, like that should be like enough to sell you
Oh
on
yeah,
them.
no, he was done, and then he goes to Colombia, and he comes back like he like literally de-aged 20 years.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that show, and we got a lot of big announcements. Oh, and Yuma came out to challenge Nagata after the match,
Aoyagi.
which yeah, Yuma Aoyagi, of
It was Anzai loses and then
course.
just immediately rolls back into the ring. It's like, actually, I'm challenging you again.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get to that in a second. So we got a bunch of stuff they announced right after the show and during the show. Triple Crown. This is June 26th at Shinkiba. We got a 6-man tag for the Triple Crown like heat up match. Yuji Nagata, Master Wato, Ryuki Honda versus Yuma Aoyagi, Atsuki Aoyaki, and Yoshitatsu.
I wonder who's taking the pin here.
Well, can you imagine how great that match could be if they just replaced
Oh,
Yoshitatsu?
like, and it could be like literally anyone else on the roster, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, literally, if they put one of the Saitos in there, that's a better match.
Yeah. We've got Takao Mori versus Manabu Soya. So Soya's hanging around,
Yeah.
and I have no complaints.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, they gotta stop running these Omori versus Soya matches, okay? Like we get it. Soya's gonna win and beat his old partner.
Yeah. It's like, get wild,
This is the third or
explode.
fourth.
Again,
This is
part
the third or
150.
fourth match they've had.
Yeah.
Singles match they've had. And then we've got Hikaru Sato and Dan Tamura versus Fuminori Abe and Black Menso Ray.
That's
That should
gonna
be
rock as
pretty
well.
good.
I really want Abe to stick around. I love him. He's awesome.
Well, also like Takuya Nomura's back, and he was gone for a while, so
Yeah.
hopefully he'll be around a little more too.
Mhm.
We've got All Japan versus Black Generation International, Rising Hayato versus Utani.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one where All
I
Japan probably gets the win.
Which is funny because also in another All Japan versus Black Generation International match, it's Kento Miyahara versus Kotaro Suzuki.
I mean, that match is gonna rock, but there's a literal 0% chance that Kotaro Suzuki wins this.
So do you think Utani?
No, I think, like I
Yeah,
said,
come
I
on.
think Great is just gonna get dropped out until the Sumo Hall show.
That's very possible. Then we've got Takuya Nomura, Ryo Inoue, and Oji Shiba versus Naruki Doi, Hokuto Omori, and Naoki Tanizaki. That should rock.
Yeah. That's
Paul,
like 6
this
great
one,
wrestlers.
I know. Paul, this one I'm really looking forward to. It's Violent Giants versus the Saito brothers. My dream match.
Yeah, I mean, I will have to warn you though, like, I don't think you're gonna get like Violent Giants turning back the clock on this one.
No. It
But
might
you
have
also
a
don't
non-finish
really
too.
need that. You just need like 4 large bodies slamming into each other for like, I don't know, just
I
under
mean,
10 minutes, and that's enough.
Ishikawa works well with the Saitos, and he
That's
has
true.
since they returned.
That's true. Like, he actually
Um,
mashed it about.
But this being Shinkiba, this could be like a count out or a DQ.
Yeah, or someone goes into a body bag. Are they gonna try and
Or
fit
someone
Shuji
goes into a
Ishikawa in one of those body bags? Because I don't think he will fit.
It would be funny if they did an angle after the match where Taru comes out and is like, "I got an extra large body bag."
This body bag is the size of 2 Kenoh, so we can fit Ishikawa in it.
Yeah. And then on July 2nd at Korakuen Hall, we've got Yuma Aoyagi versus Yuji Nagata. Okay, Paul, is he doing it?
Yeah, I mean, you have
Is
to,
it
right?
time?
You have to.
I think so.
You have to pull the trigger.
I
now.
agree. Yuma's had too many challenges where he hasn't won.
Yeah.
I'm not even convinced that Yuji Nagata is supposed to be the Triple Crown champion right now.
No.
And I'll get to this in a second. They have announced a Triple Crown match in
Nagoya.
no.
No.
It is on July 22nd in Shimane or Shimane Kubiki Messe Large Exhibition Hall in Matsui, which is like in southwest Japan. I think it's a little past Osaka, like going west. And they never had a Triple Crown match there before. And that seems to me like that's a prime Yuma's first defense spot.
Yeah.
Because if you have Nagata, First of all, Nagata hasn't been announced for that show or the one the next day in Osaka. I don't think. No, not in Osaka. And plus, you'd want to put Nagata in bigger buildings in big cities.
Yeah. No, I think I like I said, it is high time for like Yuma to win the Triple Crown, for Yuma Yogi to win the Triple Crown, and I think you pull the trigger here and then you see what you can get out of him.
Paul, I wouldn't be shocked if Ashino beats him for this Triple Crown pretty quickly, though.
You think so?
Because they still seem interested. Like Ashino is being featured on like commentary. He was at the New Japan show or and everything like that. Like I think.
See, what I'm thinking is I think they might do this they might do him as the challenger on the New Year's shows.
That works.
And maybe that's me being a bit selfish because I want to be there. But I
So
think that
who's,
also makes a lot of sense, where like he comes back from injury, needs a little bit of time to get going again, and then you do it at like one of the bigger shows of the year that they have, which is the New Year's one, and he finally
Yep.
like after like breaking his arm, like all of the devastation, 6 months later he comes back in January and he finally wins the title. And that way you give Yuma like a nice like long first reign.
Who's winning Royal Road then?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter, to be quite honest. Like in
I mean,
theory, you can have Kento win it, and then
It does matter because you've got that Yoyogi #2 in September.
oh yeah, right. Kento might not be in the Royal Road, right? I don't know if that works out time-wise.
Okay, so I looked. The first and the opening night and the finals of Royal Road conflict with N1 shows.
Okay, so that doesn't work then.
Well, we don't know who's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to say this now, and I'll write you my full predictions later. I think no one needs like an All Japan guy in the N1 because it's not going to be a New Japan guy, and they need someone.
Yeah.
To help.
Especially with Kaito not there.
Exactly. And that's why I'll write down who I think's in.
I think we're both not being very subtle about it, but yes, do write it down and then we'll cover it when me and Andrew record tomorrow and when the listeners will hear it in a couple of minutes.
Now, Paul, it could be an X. They announce tomorrow too, because I could see if Yuma doesn't win, even though I think he absolutely should, he could be in the N1.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think there's no way he's in if he's the Triple Crown champion, but otherwise I could see it because I do think that they want to build up I think they might be building up for like an Axis versus Yuma and Kento, like tag title match.
Absolutely. And next up, other matches announced for July 2nd, Yoshitatsu and Black Menso Ray versus Black Generation International's Kotaro Suzuki and Hartley Jackson.
I mean, that's okay, fair enough. I was saying, right, that like Great is just gonna eat shit until the Sumo Hall show. Except for this match.
Get one win.
Except for this match, yes, that they're not losing this one.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one. Kento Miyahara and T-Hawk versus Shuji Ishikawa and Ren Ayabe.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume Ayabe's losing there.
That's an Ayabe loss, yeah.
And then we've got Atsuki Aoyagi defending against El Lindemann.
Which should rock. Like that's going to be a real good match.
Yeah. And then we have Suwama, Satoshi Kojima, Kaz Hayashi, and Minoru Tanaka versus Jun Saito, Rei Saito, Kono, and Toshizo.
Yeah. I mean, Tanaka's still the Gaora TV title. Like, right, he's still the champion.
Yeah.
Maybe something will come out of that with that so that he can finally like lose that belt and comes back to All Japan.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got Hokuto Omori and Naoki Tanizaki versus Ryuki Honda and Masao Hanabata. And then Rising Hayato, Ryo Inoue, Soma Watanabe versus Hikaru Sato, Dan Tamura, and Oji Shiba, which I think should be pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, that should be really good.
And then for the Evolution Proto Show, Evolution 5, New Start Genesis at Yokohama Radiant Hall on July 8th, we've got Atsuki Aoyagi and Rising Hayato versus Yoshitatsu and Black Menso-re. Not exactly who I would put the Aoyaki and Hayato against. But...
I'm kind of curious how well Yoshitatsu. Like, I'm not worried about Black Menso-re, but I'm curious how much Yoshitatsu is going to be able to like keep up with the two of them.
Oh yeah, like because he
was struggling with Naruki Doi, who he's still great, but he has slowed down compared to his peak.
Oh yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do, right?
And he was struggling against like Shota Umino, who's not exactly like the most dynamic wrestler either.
No, I mean he was. Oh god, he like just was landing awkwardly and shit. It's just you know. And I don't think Umino's a lost cause by any stretch. But you got to find him better opponents.
Yeah, I think
that's the thing, right? Match. It's like they're going to be the people that sort of make him and everything like that. So you got to do that. And also, so we've got then Evolution Women versus Sekigun from Oz Academy again. We got Zones, Chi-Chi, and Sunny versus Mayumi Ozaki, Mayuki, and Kakeru.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume that this is going to be much like that other match at Oda Ward.
Yeah, just as a 6-man tag.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that they're kind of putting these like Evolution women kind of on these shows as well because they need reps, basically.
Agree. Yeah, they do. Yeah, because they only run like once a month at those Shinkiba shows.
Yeah.
Evolution versus Voodoo Murders, 6-man tag. Suwama, Hikaru Sato, Dan Tamura versus Jun Saito, Rei Saito, and Toshizo. Which hopefully, like, I mean, you got to end this Evolution versus.
Yeah, I mean, it's run. It has come full. It literally has come full circle. With Suwama is back with Evolution, and you just end that chapter.
Time to. You know,
it literally is a flat circle. Yeah, we're just right back to where we started originally.
And then we have Shuji Shikawa versus Yuma Anzai.
Mm-hmm.
And
like I'm thinking, like Anzai is winning that one, right?
Yeah, but you should do this at like Korakuen Hall, not Yokohama Radiant Hall.
Yeah,
is my opinion on that. I don't know. So I don't know. But he should win probably. Hokuto Omori and Naruki Doi versus Fuminori Abe and Ryo Inoue.
Yeah, that should work.
That should be good. And we got Kento and Yuma versus Yuji Nagata and Ryuki Honda. So all of a sudden, like Honda's teaming with Nagata in like multiple matches. And who's taking the fall in that match?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously Honda, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah. Look, Paul, question for you. Given how gutsy or relatively gutsy compared to the last few years of All Japan they seem this year, could you see Honda sort of eating shit now to then go on a run in the Royal Road and win it?
Actually, yeah, I could see that because they need someone, right? And if Kento's not going to be there and Yuma is the champion, then like who's really kind of there that like would benefit from that? Like you could have done Anzai if Anzai hadn't already gotten a title shot, and I think one title shot for him right now per year is like enough. So like you don't need to go with him. Ishikawa has gotten a title shot. There's always the chance now that he's a face again that they like have it be won by Suwama. But yeah, obviously Honda would be like the courageous choice here.
I mean, I'm certainly not against Suwama winning just to lose to Yuma. I mean, that's fine.
But yeah, that would be the boring choice, and I think like it really is like either him or Honda, unless Ashino is back and they want to do it that way.
Yeah. But I could see Ashino versus Yuma at the end of the year too.
Yeah.
And I think that might actually work because you build it up.
Yeah.
Because you could just sell it as a big match.
Exactly. Like because I think it already like whenever like Ashino's gonna challenge for the Triple Crown next, I think that's going to be a big deal, simply because of how he like lost his shot basically. Like you think he created like a lot of like sympathy with that. So like whenever you actually do run that back, I think you should do that at like a meaningful show.
Yeah, for sure. And then we move on to July 16th at Shinkiba First Ring. An 8-man tag match to build up to the World Tag Team title match. Kento Miyahara, Yuma Anzai, Ryo Inoue, and Oji Shiba versus Minoru Suzuki, Hokuto Omori, Naruki Doi and Naoki Tanizaki. Pretty good. We've got Yoshitatsu and Black Mensure versus Hitoshi Kojima, and they debuting Igor Blanc.
I don't know.
Igor
You're the
Blanc?
Canadian. You had French. I mean, I technically also had
I
French in school, but
did.
you had more.
Yes, yeah, but not after grade 9.
Okay,
But-
okay. Wait, then I think I actually had French longer than you, because I
how
had
do you
French
pronounce
until like grade 11, I think.
how do you pronounce eagle? I don't remember eagle. I remember some animals in French, but I don't.
Aguile,
Aile, Blanc,
Blanc.
yeah.
Blanc is the easy one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's White Eagle is basically was what the name is.
Yeah. Paul, you know him.
Yeah.
Right?
I haven't seen like a ton of him. I've actually seen more of his tag team partner, Senza Volto. But I have seen him a couple of times. I think last time I saw him was last year during the when I went to WXW for the 16 Karat Gold. He was like in a tag team gauntlet in there with Senza Volto. He's definitely a guy that has a lot of potential. He's still relatively young as well. Like I think he's like 26, 24. So like he's still pretty young. He can be a bit rough around the edges, but I think definitely like I think he's like the perfect guy to bring into the promotion right now, where you can like give him some polish, and then I think he's gonna fit right in the current All Japan Junior division. So I think that's a really good one to bring in. The one I
He's
am
on
curious.
the top. Oh, I was gonna say he's on the taller side, but I still think he's gonna be a junior.
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely a junior. What I am curious about though is, will they also bring in his tag team partner? Because he is good, but like Senza Volto is like the like more like prestigious part of that tag team basically. Like he's like a guy that is like a big deal on the European scene. Well, I mean, I would actually say European scene, but like I think like the European scene outside of the UK, because I don't think he's really that well known in like the UK scene yet. But like on the continental European scene, he's like one of the like biggest stars that they have, and he's like a regular, for example, here in Berlin at like GWF shows and everything, and he's really really good. So maybe that will be something where they bring him in as well.
I find it interesting that some of the smaller Japanese promotions are now going to Europe or continental Europe, because we had like Ender Kara in Big Japan and everything like that. It's probably a good place for them to recruit from.
I mean, I've been saying that. I've been saying that since we started the podcast. I'm like, if you want to go and like, I think I started saying that when Noah started bringing in like the random grab bag of foreigners, where I was like, just go and like look at like Europe. Like, there's so many guys in there that like are definitely ready to like break out. They need like a little bit of polish maybe, but like the talent is obviously there, and you can grab them young. Because there's just this like young generation now in Europe that is like very much like especially in continental Europe, that is like underexposed. But like if you grab them now, you can build them up to be something.
Yeah, and then New Japan will just snag them away if they become friends with Will Ospreay.
Oh yeah, no, I mean true, but like again, like you can still like do something with them, right? So,
yeah, you can still do something with them.
Exactly.
And I thought this was interesting because Blanc on his Twitter, when he announced this, he thanked Nikon Lee for helping him with everything. And then he didn't specify what that meant. Maybe that's she handled his visa, or she might have seen him, right?
Yeah, I think that's likely.
Yeah, right? Because she's been to WXW.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely like, and like he like isn't even like the only like WXW guy that is like coming into Japan. Like Tristan Archer is going to wrestle, I think for Big Japan as well.
Interesting.
So like clearly seems to be that there is like at the very least, like whether or not it's her, but like there's someone. I mean, it might also be, for example, like Fuminori Abe and Irie as well, because Irie was like the champion there until recently, and like Abe is also like a regular in WXW. So like it might also be those two.
They both have ties to Big Japan and All Japan.
Yeah, exactly. So like I wouldn't be shocked if they're like the hookups there as well.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting, but I mean, I think I'm looking forward to see them, and I think there's going to be more foreigners in All Japan moving forward now.
Yeah,
it's a ton, obviously, but The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that like Perry Von Vicious and Rip Bison are coming in for the Real World Tag League.
Yeah, I think because that's also like if you think about like what would be like considered like a dream promotion kind of for those kinds of guys, All Japan is probably like right up there, especially
Yeah,
if you're a tag team
they're
wrestler.
yeah, perfect. Yeah, two big guys. Yeah, two big
Yeah.
foreigners. Yeah, for sure. And then we have also on that show, Rising Hato versus Hikaru Sato, which I think will be great. Maybe they're building up Hayato for another title challenge.
I wouldn't actually be shocked if he wins it next time he challenges.
Neither would I. And then so on July 22nd, they're doing the Triple Crown match. So you can figure out maybe who that's going to be. I don't know. I don't even know who the challenger would be. We don't even know who
We don't even know who's the champion.
champion is. But the challenge, it just doesn't seem like there's someone obvious either to be the next challenger.
No.
I mean, it could. No. It's like one of those exhibition halls, so it's got to be at least 400 or 500 people. So it's not tiny, but it's
Yeah.
not huge either.
But
so
yeah,
who
it's
knows?
not like you need like a big challenger either.
No.
Who knows? I mean, maybe you do like
Yeah.
Hokuto Mori or something.
Yeah. And then also the very prestigious All Japan TV six-man tag matches tag titles will be defended when it's ATM, Takao Mori, and Black Mensa Ray versus Yoshitatsu, Almighty Inoue, and Lauza.
Yeah. Sure.
And then also, it's not going to be Hokuto Mori because he's facing Ivor Black
yeah,
on that
okay.
show.
Fair enough,
Blanc
yeah.
on that show. Which I think could actually be a good match.
Mhm.
We'll see. It'll be a good chance to see him. And then on July 23rd at the Osaka Edion Arena number 2, we've got the World Tag Title match, Kento and Yuma versus Minoru Suzuki and Hokuto Mori. We got Suwama and Yuma Anzai versus Shuji Ishikawa and Ren Ayabe. And I should add, I want to see, like, as much as I got a kick out and will get a kick out of the Violent Giants reunion, it's really time for Suwama and Anzai to form a tag team.
Yeah, I think they might be my favorites if they become a regular team to win the Real World Tag League.
Oh, I was wrong. Nagata is on this show in Osaka, so I don't think
okay.
you can rule him out.
Okay.
It's Yuji Nagata and Ryuki.
But it's not like you're
Yuji
gonna have
Nagata
a challenger coming out of this match if he's still Triple Crown champion.
I don't know. Yuji Nagata and Ryuki Honda versus Jun and Rei Saito.
They're not gonna give a Triple Crown shot to one of the Saitos.
You could give Rei Saito a Triple Crown match against Nagata in a smaller building.
But like, what are we doing? Like, how long are we gonna like drag out this Nagata reign then? Like,
yeah. But like, I could also see them wanting to go to Yoyogi with Nagata. You know?
I don't know. I'd rather put it on Yuma and see what he can get out of Yuma.
Yeah,
like, I think it's time.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And then Takao Mori and Black Mensa Ray versus Bodyguard and the returning Izanagi. Yay!
Izanagi's back. Nosawa's gone and Izanagi's back. Hey, weird how that works.
Yeah. That I would assume it's just going to be a one night.
Yeah.
It's a one night thing.
Because they're in Osaka. So basically, like,
yeah,
it's those he basically Izanagi joins like the Zeus, Bodyguard, and like that kind of group where like they come in whenever they're in Osaka because they probably do like a boatload of like local promotions, so they get a spot on the card.
Yeah. To be completely honest with you, I think giving Izanagi a shot against Aoyagi or even Rising Hayato down the line is not a bad idea.
Yeah, that would be cool. You can do that in like when you do like another like
Osaka
show. Yeah, that actually is a good idea.
In the area, because All Japan just sort of started just beating all of the Osaka guys in Osaka, like with Zeus. Like he would lose like Triple Crown matches in Osaka after he won, right? So it's like, okay, he got his big moment, didn't work out, and then he loses in Osaka in Triple Crown matches.
Yeah.
Which is not very Vince McMahon of them, but whatever. But you could get away with Izanagi doing that, I suppose.
He got his gold watch reign, so that's fine. Yeah.
He did get his gold watch reign. That's right. I forgot. Yeah. All right. So this is the point where I bow out. We'll be back after. Yeah, because I'm going to be back on like the 30th or whatever. So we'll talk about the All Japan Triple Crown show on our next episode. So I will then leave it to Paul and Andrew. So take care.
And welcome. So to you, listeners, it is just a few seconds after Gerard just said goodbye. To me, it is a full 24 hours actually. So we're recording on Thursday right now, and I am here with the one and only Andrew Sinclair, who is fresh off his amazing appearance on the Voice of Wrestling flagship recently. And obviously, Andrew, after he appeared on that podcast, was like, well, there's only one way to go up from the Voice of Wrestling flagship, and that is the Emerald Flow Show. So, welcome, Andrew. How are you doing? And kind of generally, what are your thoughts on Pro Wrestling Noah right now?
Hi, Paul. It's really exciting to come on the show. Yeah, Noah's a weird one, really, because I've watched a lot of Noah this year, last year, and I think I enjoy most of it. It's very rarely terrible. Like, there's a couple of things that I really don't like, mostly anything involving Dante Leon. But it's like rarely ever terrible, but it's also rarely ever great either. So it kind of feels like all the shows are just very middling, and that sort of makes them all feel quite long. But I think they're in a weird place because obviously the Muto stuff and all of his friends took up a lot of the spotlight for a long period of time, and now they're trying to pivot in a different direction. I know they're not drawing particularly well, and I don't really see what direction they're going to be moving forward. There's no obvious, in theory, this should be Kiyomiya's time, but he's not even going to be, around for the N1, and he's doing stuff with New Japan and might be leaving, who knows. And I think the other issue is just, the Noah Dojo produces nobody. So the guys they have brought through, like Kinya Okada, Yasutaka Yano, they've gone. And then it's like, well, who else is there? It's Inamura, Kai Fujimura, and, Tai Shiozawa. And it's like, well, there's not a huge crop of exciting younger guys coming through, or at least you can see coming through a few years from now. So it's a weird one. And I know you spoke a lot about the dojo situation when you were on the Super J cast recently. You were talking about, the Noah and DDT dojos probably should kind of be combined. That would be useful. So, yeah, I think it's a weird one with Noah. They've obviously got a position to do well financially. There's a lot of money there and there's stability there. But, it's hard to get excited about Jake Lee. So...
No, that is fair. I mean, you're on the premier Jake Lee covering podcast. I mean, he is kind of our unofficial mascot in many ways. It is kind of both kind of, in a weird way, it is against both our consent and Jake Lee's consent that he became our mascot. Neither side really wanted this, and it just happened anyway. So, yeah, but I kind of get where you're coming from. Where, like, it's kind of hard to get excited about them. And you're definitely in the right place. If you're someone that is not a big fan of Dante Leon. It's actually, if you're going to listen to the part of this episode that you haven't been on, me and Gerard spent a significant amount of time shitting on the Hayata versus Dante Leon match, which was just horrific. So, yes,
Yeah.
that is very understandable.
That match was genuinely among the most dull things I've seen all year. And, like, I cover Impact for Voice of Wrestling, so I've watched Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer fighting each other. And at least that was just bad, and I was angry, whereas the Hayata Dante Leon, I was just like, why is it not over? And Dante Leon has among the worst looks in wrestling, so it doesn't help. But yeah, that match was poor, very poor.
Yeah.
So.
No, and it really didn't help that there's like more heat and like outer space than there was for that match.
Yeah, the crowd could not have cared less, which was kind of funny, but I also sort of felt bad for them as well. But
yeah. Okay, but until like I think a show that had a much better crowd though, which was today's Noah Star Navigation show from Korakuen Hall, which drew 1,022 fans. I would say that's a good number because they drew. I think that's like the first time in a while that they've like. I think now we really can say that there's like a trend in Noah where they've kind of reversed kind of the really terrible kind of pandemic era like Korakuen attendances, where like even among like on like pandemic standards, Noah's was drawing like awful crowds. Like in like March last year, they drew like 400 fans to Korakuen. So I think now we can kind of say like it's become better. But like, what do you think of kind of this number that they drew today?
I thought it was quite a good number, to be honest. And they're doing a reverse All Japan, in that All Japan is
Yes.
drawing well everywhere that isn't Korakuen Hall, and then Noah is drawing horrendously everywhere that isn't Korakuen Hall. So I thought it was a decent number. I think it's the third time this year they've gone over 1,000. So generally, they seem to be in a good place with at least attendances there. And I know there are 3 N1 shows there as well. So in theory, they seem to be in a better place. And, you know, it wasn't a super stacked lineup, but obviously I would think that, you know, Kenoh Go Shiozaki is obviously... Gio? Why did I say Gio? Go Shiozaki. That's still quite a big-time singles match, so you would anticipate that's going to draw quite well. And you had the junior tag title match. But beyond that, there wasn't anything to really set the pulses racing. So I think it's quite a good number. You know, not quite as good as I think it was the Daisuke Harada retirement one earlier in the year when he had the 1 minute exhibition. Obviously, they did a great number for that, but there's a different context to that one. So I think this is a good number. And hopefully it's one they can build on, you know, with the N1 and what should be fairly stacked lineups for those N1 shows.
No, it's like what I would say about this number, that it definitely raised my expectations about what I expect Kento versus Nakajima to draw in Korakuen Hall now. Because before I was like, if this doesn't break like 1,000, nothing can. But now I'm like, it's a bad number if they don't break 1,000 for that. And I think at this point, I think we can maybe expect them to even rival the number that they drew for the Harada retirement show, which I think we still don't really have a full grasp on what like the actual maximum capacity at Korakuen is now, because it's obviously not what it used to be. Because I think they still sell like basically like social distancing seats in a way. Like there's like a social distance section, I think, still in Korakuen. So you can't actually get up to like 2,000, I think, which used to be like the maximum. So, but I think this one at the very, like the Kento versus like Nakajima, like that should get close to the Harada show, because, I mean, my God, the build they've done for that. Like, how else are you going to sell tickets if not with that?
Oh, and also, I mean, that personally, that's one of my most anticipated matches of the year. And that's
absolutely.
Mostly because I'm an unabashed Kento Miyahara super fan. But the press conference was great. He just slapped him right around his face, which is brilliant.
I actually mentioned that on the stuff we recorded yesterday. So basically, sacrificing DDT by Nakajima knocking out Endo, which objectively really dragged down DDT, and they still haven't recovered from that, was worth it just because we got the angle out of it from the press conference. So.
Yeah, it was brilliant, and I mean that match is going to be fantastic, and I like the fact they've said there's no time limit or anything, which I think adds to the show, and the fact, you know, they announced some matches for that show on today. A slightly weird lineup, it must be said. I wasn't expecting Jimmy Wang Yang.
No, that is very weird.
That was a pivot that I wasn't expecting, but yeah, there doesn't seem a huge amount of depth on that show, but obviously Nakajima Miyahara is a huge match. Their interactions on the Muto retirement show were great. The press conference was great. So that should be a big time draw. So I think, that 1,300 that they got for the Harada show, I think is the ballpark I would expect, given how well sort of today went with, you know, really a 2-match show.
Yeah, especially on the first day, because if this had just drawn this number on the weekend, like I think I would still call it a good number, but I think it's an even better number because it happened on the first day.
For sure.
Yeah. No. Okay, so but let's kind of go into the show and go match by match. So we start off the show with Katsuniko Nakajima and Seiki Yoshioka defeating Manabu Soya and Hajime Ohara when Nakajima hit the Harite on Ohara. I would say this was a pretty good opener. I think they actually kind of stacked this opener more than they normally would. Where like you have like Nakajima in there, you have like Soy was like a tag champ recently, and like, I mean, yeah, Ohara is kind of like an undercut guy, and Yoshioka is someone that I complain frequently about should be pushed harder, but I thought they like stacked this opener more than they normally would, and I think it showed as well. Like it was short, but I thought like for what we got, it was really good.
Yeah, I thought it was I saw the official match time was 8 minutes and something, and it felt way shorter than that. It felt like there were a handful of exchanges, and then Nakajima just slapped Tahara around the face, and he
That was the highlight.
done.
That was the absolute
Yeah,
highlight.
exactly. He hit like a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and I was like, okay, fair enough. And then seconds later, he just gets stiffed around the face, and Manabu Sora had to carry him out. So I thought the
Which
finish
actually
was
is a really nice callback, because I think it was actually like, because they kind of did the same thing when Nakajima had to be carried out by Manabu Soya last year out of, I think that was a Korakuen Hall show as well.
it was just great. And I thought, it obviously played off the press conference, it played off the Endo stuff. When he broke Kinya Okada's jaw last year, I thought, it just made Nakajima feel like a killer, which is important going into, the match with Miyahara and going into the N1. And I thought also, when he slapped Kenoh in the 45-minute draw they had not that long ago, that felt like the first time really since the Endo thing that Nakajima had, committed to like a slap around the face. And it felt like here, there were no inhibitions. There was no holding back. This was just, unfiltered Nakajima. So I thought it was really fun. And I thought it was a nice touch as well, because Nakajima and Yoshioka, they won the Shuffle tag tournament in January. And this was their first time teaming together since then. And obviously gone over strong. So, tag champ material.
Yeah, that's a good pickup actually. Yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be opposed if they turn like Axis into some sort of faction, if they put like Yoshioka and Kotoge in there as well. I think that's actually that's a great faction. If you have like Shiozaki, Nakajima, Yoshioka, and Kotoge, like that's some fire right there.
Well, it would give Yoshioka and Kotoge something to do, which obviously would be a big plus.
Yeah, that would be a really big plus. But we gotta give like Hayata his next big title run, and can't do anything with those guys. So yeah, or whatever. Like I said, it's been a frequent complaint of mine. So anyway, so next match, we had Saxon Huxley, Timothy Thatcher, Kazuyuki Fujita, Hideki Suzuki, and Shuei Taniguchi defeat Masaki Tamiya, Yoshiki Inamura, Daiki Inaba, Mohamed Yone, and Stallion Rogers in 40 minutes and 14 seconds, when Taniguchi hit a Hell's Nelson suplex on Stallion Rogers. I thought overall this was like a pretty good tag match as well. I think the highlight of the match was actually in the pre-match, where you had Fujita had hand out his health drinks as well to everyone, and then you had like Thatcher and Taniguchi and Huxley like do this like huddle thing where they were like hyping up each other, and then they were just bum rushing their opponents. So I thought that was actually kind of entertaining, and then otherwise, like good action all around, and just solid stuff, I want to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think on the huddle at the start, it was funny that you had four of them jumping and getting all hyped, and then Suzuki's like still taking his clothes off and stuff to get down to his gear, and he's just not part of the the madmen. He's just stood there in the ring with Stallion Rogers like, okay, I'm gonna grab a hold. So that was fun. I enjoyed Mohamed Yone trying to run away from Saxon Huxley. That I thought that was funny as well. And obviously this match wasn't originally on the show. It was supposed to be Taniguchi against Stallion Rogers in a singles, and then they had to rejig some stuff around because of Segura's eye injury. So I thought this was fine. I thought it made sense, Taniguchi winning, because obviously he's the new guy in Real, and they brought him in recently, so it kind of made sense to put him over and give him a win. So I thought that worked out all right. I thought, it was fine. I think I enjoyed the crowd brawling and the stuff, pre-match, early bits of the match outside the ring. I think I enjoyed that more than the kind of formulaic 10-man in the ring. But yeah, I thought this was fine. But the one thing I did want to say, I wanted to use the floor on the Emerald Flow Show, the award-winning Emerald Flow Show. Why are they making G-Man do commentary?
That's very fair. That was very noticeable on this show as well. Like I think some people are really down on him as like a ring announcer as well, and like I don't think he's like the best ring announcer, but I think he's solid enough and he's improved. But yeah, commentary is not his forte. Like especially because they actually have a pretty good commentary booth there with Pickering and Fulton. And then I think it generally doesn't tend to work well if you add like a third person to them.
But that was the thing, though, because it wasn't really a third person. Like, he came in for some of the matches, and then Stu Fulton
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Yeah, that was the other weird part. Yeah.
But the issue I've got with G-Man, he was better on this show than he was on the one on the 17th in Nagoya. That one, he just sounded like he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what he was talking about. You know, the one on the 17th was Mother of God all the time. That was one of his key phrases. And I think someone went to the outside and he said they've gone for a Burton, which is something I would say because, you know, I'm a South London geezer, but no one's paying me to commentate English language for Pro Wrestling Noah. And I was like, any poor unsuspecting person who's not from certain bits of England is going to be like, what does he mean? What is he talking about? So, yeah, not the one. And I don't really know why they brought him on for this show either. I don't see what they think that's achieving. And as you say, you know, Pickering and Stu Fulton, I think are a really good commentary team. And I think they kind of really sell, particularly the main event stuff, you know, the big fight feel. I think they capture that really well. G-Man, please just stick to saying, you know, Jack Morris or whatever.
I mean, while we're just briefly talking about the like commentary team, like I just kind of want to like briefly like just go back to the Hayata versus Dante Leon match because like Stu Fulton, bless his heart, that man tried so hard to sell this like absolute nothing burger of a match. And he like I mean I think he knows that like this wasn't any good, and he knows that like, and obviously like they're there, so like they know that the crowd doesn't make any noise, but like he did the hard sell for this the entire match when he could have just kind of hand waved it and like put in like half effort or whatever, but like he tried so hard for that.
Yeah,
so just
again,
wanted to give him a shout out for that.
I was going to make an unsalvageable wreck joke, but then I felt maybe it's slightly out of place given the whole submarine business. But we can move on and talk about Sean Legacy. It's all right.
Yeah, no. They talk about definitely not a unsalvageable wreck, but rather a diamond in the rough. The next match, Jake Lee and Jack Morris, the good-looking guys, defeat Takashi Segura. No, not Takashi Segura. That's wrong. Sorry, I just copied this off of Perloff, so that's definitely wrong. That's definitely not who that was. That was
it was Daiki Inaba.
Sean Legacy and it was Daiki Inaba. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Blame Strigger. Daiki Inaba and Sean Legacy in 11 minutes and 30 when Morris hit a Cobra Twist on Legacy. So yeah, like another one. I think really like this one. Really, the goal was just to like put over Jack Morris strong, which I think is something like a bit of like a track record of something I've noticed that they've given like Morris a lot of shine on shows recently, and I'm actually kind of curious how that is kind of going to be reflected in the N1. But I think we'll get into that a bit more when we actually cover the N1. But I think, as you mentioned, kind of Sean Legacy, I think Sean Legacy is like a guy where like I think Noah has this like random grab back approach to bring in for us. But I think if you do that, then you every once in a while you really hit in a big way. And I think Jack Morris was like the first time they really hit in a big way, bringing in like a guy that no one had ever heard of before. And I think Sean Legacy is like the next guy that they hit back on, that like he is going to be someone.
Yeah, for sure. The Jack Morris thing always makes me laugh because I think I was probably one of about 8 people who knew who Jack Morris was. Because, you know, having been to university in Scotland, I saw far more ICW than anybody needs to see. So I had actually seen him there in a tag team, and I thought he was good. I thought he looked, a decent athlete. I certainly wouldn't have pictured him as a singles guy, certainly in a place like Noah. But yeah, I knew who he was, and I knew his background was football, for example, because of where I work, Football Manager and stuff. So yeah, to then just see this random dude rock up, I was like, oh, I recognise you. I felt like the DiCaprio meme where he's like lurching off the sofa. I was like, that's me and Jack Morris, and everyone's like, who's Jack Morris? But anyway, yeah, I thought this match was fine. I think, Legacy was over big time with the crowd. They loved him. And I thought it was interesting. Mark Pickering noted on commentary that this was the last match of Sean Legacy's tour, or his current tour with Noah. So I hope they bring him back. I think they will. I thought he got himself across really well, and the fans loved him. And, why wouldn't you? The guy looks the part, he moves the part, wrestles very well. I love Daiki Inaba. I think he's great, and I think really him and when him and Kitamiya beat Satoshi Kojima and Sugiura for the tag titles earlier this year, that I think is my Noah match of the year so far. I thought that was brilliant. I genuinely, absolutely loved that. So yeah, this was a ton of fun. I thought the bits where Jake Lee was in the match were probably where it dragged the most, but all in all, really good match. Probably 3.25 stars. I enjoyed it a lot, and as you say, that Morris looked really strong in the finish and generally in this match, and I wonder whether in the end that's priming him for something, whether that's maybe a tag title challenge later in the year with Anthony Green or something else. But yeah, he's been booked well, and I think he's obviously can have another good N1 because that confidence with him has just grown and grown and grown, and now he looks like he belongs rather than being a fly-in, basically.
Yeah, no, definitely. And actually, well, because I actually thought about this as well, like because he got up to like second like league like Scottish football, right?
Yeah, so he was at Dunfermline, who have sort of flitted since they last got relegated to the Scottish Premiership, have been sort of Championship League One in Scotland. So yeah, second, third division of Scottish football.
So does that actually mean he was actually like in Football Manager then?
I think he was, because I think he was in the youth teams, so they would have been covered by one of our researchers.
That's actually kind of cool. I kind of need to like pick up the version of Football Manager with Jack Morris in it, and like try and train him up to like become like a world star and like guide him to like I don't know Real Madrid. Not Real. No, who's like the good-looking guys? Oh, Inter Milan. I'm gonna like get him to like become like a striker for Inter Milan or something.
Oh yeah, he's got to be like a stylish Italian team, like Venezia, because obviously they've got the really fancy kits and stuff. So yeah, maybe Jack Morris in a Venezia kit feels right. So yeah, that's probably the one to look for. But yeah, good little match. I enjoyed it. So.
Okay, and then the next match, the team of Kaito Kiyomiya, Hayata, and Eita defeat Yoshinari Ogawa, Leona, and Stinger's newest member, Leona, and Kai Fujimura in 12 minutes and 24 seconds, when Kiyomiya hit a modified Tiger Driver on Fujimura. And obviously the other important part of this match, or actually just before the match, we had the Gene Blaster, New Japan Pro Wrestling Zone, Yota Tsuji, invade Korakuen Hall, coming down to the ring and sitting at ringside to watch this match. And obviously Kaito and Tsuji are going to be in the same A block in the G1, which actually I'm going to be writing the preview for Voice of Wrestling, so you can look forward to that at some point, I think next month. So yeah, that was the main part, but in general, Andrew, what did you think of the match itself?
It was fine. It felt like it dragged, I think, more than some of the other stuff did, but I don't know if that's just because I'm fairly down on most of the people in this match. I'm not a big Hayata guy at all. Eita has never really done anything for me. I know he's really over at the moment, despite basically doing nothing anywhere. He's obviously really over. And then Ogawa, I don't know. I'm down on him this year. I really like him. I think he's kind of got that crafty veteran thing where he works a style where he basically probably could be 70 and he could probably still have a good match. But this year, I think there was the tag title challenge he had earlier in the year with Ridgeway. I thought that was just atrocious. Bored to tears. So I think that's probably what stuck in my brain. And then, yeah, obviously Fujimura's a young boy. And I mean, he's 28, though. He's not that young. And then, yeah, Leona, who he seems incredibly jaggy. So, yeah, this was this was fine. The Tsuji thing at ringside was funny because G-Man was on commentary for the match before. And he ruined what I suppose was supposed to be a surprise because he's just like screaming, "Can we get a camera on the bleachers?" But he said it like 8 times. And I was like, and then when they did, it was like Yota Tsuji. And I was like, well, that's cool. But there was no element of surprise.
No.
But yeah, Tsuji just looks $1 million. I think he's an absolute star. And
yeah, I agree.
I enjoyed the fact that Kiyomiya just kind of no-sold it. Like he wasn't going to get into it with him. And, Tsuji tried to chat to him afterwards, called him out or whatever. And Kiyomiya just wasn't interested. So that was fun. But as for the match, it was all a lot of nothing, really. And yeah, the main thing I noticed was just at the end, Nagaoya seemed to be jaw-jacking with Hayata, so I don't know if that's the next defense for Hayata or that's what they're going to build towards, but that seemed to be what they were hinting at anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of this whole like endless like Hayata, Eita, Ogawa like circle jerk that like has been going for like over a year at this point. I'm so sick of it. I'm just not, yeah. But no, but like talking briefly about Yota Tsuji as well. So that's actually one of my regrets is that he actually wrestled on a GWF show here in Berlin, like not that long ago. Like it was one of his last matches before he came back from excursion. And I actually like missed out on that show because I think it's sold because I was like waffling back and forth whether or not I should buy a ticket for that because again, like this was just me remembering like young boy Yota Tsuji and everything, and I hadn't really followed him that closely on his stuff in the UK, so I hadn't really seen like how he had progressed or whatever. So I was like, I don't know, do I actually want to like pay for that? And then the show sold out, and I didn't go. And like seeing him now, and since he's come back, I'm like, okay, now I actually like regret not seeing him live in Berlin. Like I will obviously see him when I go to Japan, but I like regret not seeing him kind of in this, like kind of like smaller like indie venue because obviously now I'm only gonna see him on like big like stadium shows or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I saw him. I was at the second Royal Quest show last year at Crystal Palace, which is only down the road from where I am. And I ummed and ahed if I was going to go to night 1 or night 2. And then I was like, oh, night 2 is going to be better for sure. And then obviously night 1 had FTR and Aussie Open. And I was like, well done, Andrew. Good decision making once again. But night 2, Tsuji came in late notice because Jonah got stuck in America. Was it Jonah or Jeff Cobb? I can't remember. But I think it was Jonah. He got stuck on...
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
I think there was like a hurricane or whatever, and he got stuck on the East Coast. So Tsuji came in and fought Tomohiro Ishii, and Ishii's one of my favourites of all time. And would you believe it? That old devil sucked me in again. And I was like on the edge of my seat in the 5th row, like going absolutely bonkers for Ishii, but also Tsuji, who looked a million times better than I thought he had in Rev Pro. And then, yeah, talk about glow ups. When he rocked up in New Japan and just battered Just 5 Guys, I was like, there's the boy. There's the new ace. And then obviously he lost to Sonada. So boo, Kenoh. Boo to you. But yeah, I thought Tsuji looked great. And I enjoyed the interactions with him and Kiyomiya because it didn't feel, cliched or whatever, where they were going to get into a scrap or anything like that. And Kiyomiya just played it up like he has all the way through. Like, I don't really care about Tsuji. My focus is Sonada and all that stuff. So I think they're building something really fun, and their G1 match is going to be, I think, really, really good. But also, I think that the booking and stuff will be really interesting. So
it's also the first time in a long time that Kiyomiya has actually looked cool, where he was just like blowing off Tsuji. Like that was like the actual first like I actually have like balls basically like thing that Kaito has done in like forever basically. Like that's been my big criticism, where he's just been like too differential. Like maybe it actually takes for him to like go to a different promotion and actually learn like the art of disrespect basically.
Yeah, normally to me he looks like he's auditioning to be in Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat. And here he just looked like again, I think it's because of who he was in the ring with, but he looked like a dude. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. And you and Tsuji fighting each other is cool. So that was a big plus for sure.
Okay, and then the next match. So one of only 2 singles matches on the show. We had Shuji Kondo defeat High 69 in 5 minutes and 57 seconds with a King Kong Lariat. So obviously the story to this is that High 69 or Hiroki, or however you want to call him, has recently left Congo, and now he's basically establishing that maybe that was a mistake because he's just getting beaten by everyone on Congo. I mean, I guess this is really like kind of like him getting downcycled a lot, which I'm not super opposed to. So yeah, Congo picks up Congo. I mean, both Congo and Kondo pick up a very convincing win here in short order. And yeah, what are your general thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I thought it was good. There was quite a good intensity to it. That had basically 6 minutes, and it felt like really intense. A sprint from the get-go. And I've enjoyed this story of, High 69, Hiroki, whatever, leaving Congo because he felt he wasn't getting the results that he wanted to, and it wasn't working. And it wasn't like an acrimonious split or a heel turn or anything. He basically was just like, this isn't working for me, brother. And then he's had the singles matches with all the Congo guys. And I think this was the last one, because I think he's wrestled everybody now, or has he still got to face Funaki?
No, there's only two juniors left in Congo. It's only O'Hara and Kondo. That's the only juniors.
Yeah, because I know he lost. I think
he also lost to Kenoh. I guess Soya technically and Funaki, but I don't think they're gonna do matches with like those guys.
Yeah, but look, it was fun for what it was, and I think whatever they're trying to do with him, I think it's quite interesting, and it's nice to have kind of a subplot story going on. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and I thought Shuji Kondo looked quite good. He's just I don't know what it is. Every time I look at him, he's just like the most abnormally shaped bloke, where he's not very tall, but he kind of looks a bit tall, and he's just really bulky. But I don't know. The match was good. It was fine. I'm not sure if Hiroki's done with this thing now, or as you say, whether he's still got to fight Funaki or whatever. But yeah, just it was fine. It was fine for what it was, and sort of a palate cleanser for me, because I didn't enjoy the match before a huge amount. So this was just a real breath of fresh air. 6 minutes in and out, done, and then you moved on with the rest of the show, and obviously the N1 announcements came directly after this match as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we are going to kind of touch on the N1 announcements kind of like after this, so we're gonna like finish like running through the show. So kind of just to give you guys like an idea what we're gonna do, we're gonna skip the N1 announcements for now. What we're actually gonna do, we're gonna cover the rest of the show, and what we're gonna go do then is I had Gerard write down some predictions on what he thought was going to be like the participants of the N1, and then we're kind of going to make fun of him for his mistakes with the power of smug hindsight. And then we're actually going to cover kind of the N1 blogs and kind of our general thoughts on what we might think might happen in the N1 now. But now we're going to go kind of straight to the next match, which is Naomichi Marufuji, Amaxa, Junta Miyawaki defeat El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Ninja Mac, and Dante Leon in 40 minutes and 11 seconds when Amaxa pinned Wagner with a small package. So I thought this was really interesting. Like I thought the match itself was good as well, but I thought the result was really interesting because on the part we recorded yesterday, I actually was like, are they building to something between like Amaxa and like Wagner? Because to me, like even like in the shows they did before, like at the show Nagoya and everything, like it felt like they were dropping some hints there to like a match between the two of them. But Gerard pointed out as well that like Noah generally tends to be pretty strict on the like split between like juniors and heavyweights, like even more so now than like All Japan is, which used to be very strict on that. But I guess like in this case they maybe see the national title as more of an open weight title, because I don't think they're gonna move Amaxa up to heavyweight, like even by Noah's standards he would be very small for that. But this is absolutely a match I'm like massively looking forward to, because Wagner's title reign has been like really, really good. Like he really just like went into like a complete another gear since then, and all of his title defenses have been bangers. And same with like Amaxa, who has like completely reinvented himself. When he was like How and everything and Noah, he was always like a guy that I liked a lot and I thought was underrated. And I think now finally, like with this whole like revamp as Amaxa, like people have finally realized how good he is. So I thought that match has the potential to be really, really good. But yeah, so and what are your thoughts like on the match itself, as well as like the like potential like the Amaxa versus Wagner national title match as well?
Yeah, I thought this was a ton of fun, even though it had Dante Leon and Ninja Mac, who I'm not massively.
Oh come on, this is a Ninja Mac Defender podcast.
Yeah, it was fine. I genuinely did not notice Junta Miyawaki was in the match. Like I don't recall seeing any exchange that he was in. But yeah, the match was fun. I love El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. I think he has been phenomenal this year. I love the look. I love the kind of like barrel-chested luchador. He feels like a proper throwback. His match with Sawyer was great. That drew quite a decent number to Korakuen as well. I think it was like 900 or something. And yeah, his match with Jack Morris, I think, was brilliant as well and surprised a lot of people. So yeah, I thought they were teasing this. As you say, there were sort of a few signs that certainly the crowd wanted Amakusa to challenge him after the tag match the other day. And then, the finishing sequence here was a lot of fun where Amakusa went for the small package like 5 times. And Wagner got out 4 of them, and then he snagged him on the 5th. And then Wagner looked at the referee like, hang on, I've just lost to a junior. So it was really cool. It teased up the title match, which I think they said was going to be the 9th of July, which is the start of the next tour for them. Now, look, is it going to change? I don't know. I feel like you probably want Wagner to have the title going into the N1 because you could set off title defenses from that. But, he's coming up on a year with that title. And would the Amakusa thing open up some new directions, like as you say, with it being an open weight thing, maybe moving forward? So I think it's really interesting. I think the match will be a ton of fun because I'm very much, with yourself and Gerard and, the Joe Lanza hype train. I think Amakusa has been fantastic this year. The best Noah Jr. by far. So, very excited for him to get this match. And I think him and Wagner are going to have really good chemistry based on what we've seen with the tag matches and stuff. So, should be a lot of fun. And my gut is that Wagner retains it, but I'm not sure. The fact they've booked it in the first place makes me think that they could be trying something. So I'm not sure, but this was a lot of fun and sets up something fun for one of the shows before the N1.
Mm-hmm. No, fine. I just want to kind of like circle back real quick on like the Junta Miyawaki thing that you touched on early on, because I think it is kind of noticeable that Junta has kind of stopped being the lost post now. Like he's kind of like, at least he's like on the winning side in a match. Like he's not gonna get the pin or whatever, but like I feel like maybe we're slowly but surely transitioning out of the whole like he gets punished for whatever happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's becoming somewhat obvious that like the thing SB Kento and Takumi Fujiwara got fired from Dragon Gate over, which I think at this point is, I mean, if you can read between the line, it's somewhat obvious what happened, that at the very least Junta wasn't directly involved in it, or they at least have no proof that he was, but at the very least that they kind of punished him because he was around that, basically. But I think that is slowly but surely ending, because again, you were talking about it earlier as well, like about the Noah Dojo and like the lack of young guys. Like who else is there in the junior division that you can push that is like young?
Especially with Yano not being there.
Yeah, Yano's gone, and Fujimura, like he is a young boy, he is like 28, so he's youngish. But like Junta is like I think like 25 or something. So he's still like even like considerably younger. Where like, and he is a guy that I think is talented enough to be like the ace of the junior division. So I think slowly but surely they might be like moving him out of the doghouse and then rebuild him into like something.
Yeah, I think my main thoughts on him was, he came back at the end of last year and I thought he kind of came back in a big way, and I thought his match with Amakusa on the New Year's Day show was good. A little bit loose in places, but it was good for his first kind of match in that sort of spot. And then him and Alejandro challenged for the titles, or were in the mix of the titles, and then there was the incident where he went back to Mexico.
Allegedly, there's no proof he ever did,
and was never seen. But then when he came back after that, it looked like his confidence was shot to pieces. He just didn't really look like there was a lot of enthusiasm there. I thought on the All Together Again show, I thought he looked really sloppy. It just felt like he was missing something. And as I say, I didn't really even notice him in this match at all, to be honest. So I'm not sure, but as you say, he didn't lose. So maybe it's the slow build of something, but it's hard to tell with Noah because they basically don't run tournaments anymore. So, before, you had, the Global Junior League and you had tag leagues and all that sort of thing. And now it's basically the N1 and not a ton else in the way of tournaments. Whereas I feel like the tournament would have been a really useful thing for him to really build back up and establish him back to where he basically was at the beginning of this year, but that doesn't seem to be something that the current regime are really that bothered about doing. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that front. But I'm still fairly cold on him, I think.
No, that's fair. And I think that's also a very good take as well, with the like lack of tournaments in Noah. I think there's definitely a tendency for some Japanese promotions to like overdo the amount of tournaments you do per year. But I think Noah really has kind of swung too far back the other way, where I think they really would be helped by like having, yeah, as you said, like a junior tournament, or like bringing back like the Global Tag League as well, or like I guess the N1 Tag League is what they would call it now, or whatever.
Hmm.
But I think that would be like a help Noah like through some of the times where like in between like major shows or whatever, where you really just need to like insert some like spice into like was really just kind of some like house show tours essentially.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so but let's go to the semi-main event for the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Chris Ridgway and Daga defeat the good-looking guys of Yohei and Tadasuke, who fail in their third defense when Daga hit the Justice on Yohei, and we have new junior heavyweight tag champions. I was a little bit surprised, to be quite honest, that Ridgway and Daga won. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense with the whole like Stinger storyline and all of that, that they kind of would be like in a more of a prominent position. But I thought Yohei and Tadasuke actually had been really good champions, where they've just had these like really fun kind of just like go 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 non-stop action junior tag title matches. Like the match that they had with Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf, that was really really good. I really liked the match they had with Kotoga and Yoshioka. So I'm surprised that they like take the titles off of them now, because I think they've actually were like done a really good job of like livening kind of the cards that they have been on. But I'm also interested in like seeing what like Ridgeway and Daga can do with the titles. But I probably would have like kept the titles on Yohei and Tadasuke a little bit longer. But yeah. So Andrew, what are your thoughts on like the like match itself, as well as like the like Yohei and Tadasuke title reign overall?
Yeah, I think on Yohei and Tadasuke, they were two guys that I truthfully could not have cared less about. You know, when they joined Good Looking Guys, I was just like, one, it's a funny rib, because particularly in Tadasuke's case, they weren't blessed with looks. I'll put it that way. Um, but yeah, I think their reign's been so much fun. I think that the match with the Luchadors was good. I think I was probably the low man on that compared to a lot of people, but I know a lot of people really enjoyed it. The match with Kotoga and Yoshioka was tremendous fun. And this one I thought was really, really good as well. And easily the most I think I've ever enjoyed a Tadasuke match. And probably the most I've ever enjoyed a Daga match. And having covered Impact for Voice of Wrestling for 5 years, there was a period where I had to watch far too much Daga.
I forgot about Daga's Impact run completely. Literally,
And
until you just mentioned it, I completely wiped it from my memory.
he was dull as dishwater. And I was like, this is several years on from that, so this probably isn't going to be great. But yeah, I thought this match was just really, really good fun. Go, go, go from the outset. And yeah, I think it was 21 minutes in and out, and really, really good. And you could see at the end, Chris Ridgway, he looked like he was about to cry, basically. So I know Stinger are the heel group, but it was sort of like you could tell that that moment of winning meant an awful lot to him, which I think was quite a nice thing. So yeah, I thought the match was really good. I went 4 stars, so cracks the notebook, as the flagship boys would say. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't really know where they're going to go now that the Stinger guys have got the titles. I'm not really sure what the obvious defense is, but obviously there was no post-match challenge, so I'm guessing that's something they'll build to on the next sweep of shows. So yeah, it was fun, but I'm not really sure where they're going to go from here. Whereas I think if Yohei and Tadasuke had kept them, maybe they would have done something with Ogawa and Leona, or moved in a different direction. But it was a really good match, and that's the main thing. And I think certainly in my eyes, Yohei and Tadasuke feel a lot more interesting than they did a few months ago, which is obviously again a plus of the new good looking guys unit.
Well, I think I have some bad news for you, because I feel like I know where this is going, and it's definitely not a direction that you're going to like.
Oh no.
Because I think they're going to roll this into like the wider like feud. Basically, I feel we're going to get a Hayata and Eita title challenge.
Oh, Hayata champ. That's just what the people deserve.
I mean, we've been there before, and I guess Noah's just like, let's go back to the well, because gotta give my belts to Hayata, because for some reason he's the ace of this division. Don't know why, but he is. It's kind of undeniable, unfortunately.
I think my Wrestle Universe subscription will probably have lapsed by the time that challenge happens.
You can't have it lapse just before the N1. Come on.
It will lapse and they'll magically get restarted just
For the
N1.
N1, because you know how like Japanese like services are, where they like will charge you twice for the same month if you cancel and then re-up within the same month. But you'll just like no, I'll gladly pay 18. Like I'll gladly pay like twice for 1 month, just if that means I can miss that match. Fair enough. I appreciate that commitment.
I'm that committed to it. I would pay twice to not watch him. But yes, we'll have to wait and see. That's not the most exciting news, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that's probably, that might be the direction they're going, and then maybe Ogawa and Leona are then involved and fun. That would be
someone will turn on someone, like Ogawa will turn on Leona, or like Leona will turn on Daga, or Eita will turn on Ridge Raid somehow. I don't know. We'll see.
And then Dralistico wins the junior title, and we're all happy.
God, so bad. Why do they keep I get that he's super crazy, like nephew, but like, come on.
Or maybe it'll be Jimmy Wang Yang.
That's so random. That is the most I couldn't believe when I saw that. I was like, what the fuck? I've talked a lot about the Noah random grab back of foreigners, but that is legitimately the most random. That is more random than spoilers, like Lance Anoa'i being in the N1. That is legitimately more random than that. It's because at least they've had MLW guys in the N1 before, so there's some sort of relationship there before. But Jimmy Wang Yang, what the fuck? I legitimately haven't thought of him in when was he on SmackDown or Raw, whatever the fuck he was on back in WWE?
That would probably be 15 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I legitimately haven't thought about him in 15 years.
He did look. He got a bit of the pot belly going on in the match graphic. He didn't look maybe as lean as he once was.
Yeah, no, but I mean the reason he's back on this run apparently is to get his daughter over. So basically, it's actually another Leona case. But basically, you want to book Jimmy Wang Yang, you also need to book his daughter.
Yeah, and she's in the women's tag team match.
Yeah.
So
that seems to be the play here. But I have no idea how good she is. I only know that that's what they've been doing. I actually haven't watched her yet. But I mean, I guess if she's decent and Noah actually is serious about building a women's division, I guess that's worth people to bring in. But I'll reserve judgment until I actually see her in the ring.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and then next we go to the main event of Kenoh defeating Go Shiozaki in 23 minutes and 11 seconds with the PFS. But I think that doesn't really bring across properly what the finish to this match actually was. Because I thought this match was amazing. I went I saw people go as high as 4.5. It didn't quite get that high for me, but I went 4.25 in this. Obviously when this was announced, this was what this show was all about. So obviously this was easily the junior tag title match was good, but I thought this was even better. This was amazing, just two of the best wrestlers in the world going at it, and I thought the finish to this was just really, really cool. And I think we're gonna get into this a bit more. I think this might have set up some stuff for the N1 as well potentially. So what the finish to this match was Kenoh basically he knocks out Go Shiozaki with a high kick. Go Shiozaki goes limp, the ref is checking on him, and I think the ref is literally about to wave it off, where he's no, Go is knocked out, this is over. And then Kenoh just shoves off the ref before he can finish his check. He goes up top and he hits him with the PFS, onto just Go Shiozaki's just limp body, just as to add insult to injury, to finish him off completely, and then he pins him for the 3 count. Just an absolutely amazing finish to match, and just overall just an amazing match. And like I said, I feel this is something that we might see again in the finals of the N1. But yeah, Andrew, what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I think as an aside to the match, I was quite pleased that Go Shiozaki was wearing trousers because on the show in Nagoya, he looked like the Bionic Man. He had that many compression sleeves and bits of tape on him. I was just like, my brother, your body has fallen apart already.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought this was great. They just beat each other up, which, as has always been the case, is always the best form of wrestling. Because Kenoh's chest was like scarlet by the end, by the amount Shiozaki had chopped him. No House of Torture here. Go just got, the living daylights kicked out of him. And I think Kenoh, he's not, this is a weird one. I'm trying to articulate this in the right way. For me, he is among my favourite wrestlers this year, and I think he's been one of the best wrestlers in the world this year because I think his work has been very good and his character work has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
All the stuff with All Japan. And it's funny because he feels like the ace of Noah in the way that Kiyomiya is supposed to be. Whereas Kenoh's actually the one who's out there and he's just like, I'm going to beat you up and I'm going to defend the honour of this promotion. And All Japan's smelly and you can't sell tickets. So yeah, I think he's been brilliant. And this match was just fantastic. It wasn't for me as good as the draw that Kenoh had with Nakajima a couple of weeks ago. I thought that draw for me, I went 4.5 on that. I thought that was great. This was probably a bit below. It's probably the first time I've liked Joe Lanza's plus minus system because I think this was like 4. I was stuck between 4 and 4.25. So I thought this was just tremendously good fun. And yeah, Kenoh felt, again, he same as we talked about with other people on this show, he felt really strong on the build into the N1. So that was a big thing. And obviously they did the post-match promo with him where he basically called out Nakajima and Go Shiozaki and was like, I'm not done with you two idiots. I don't care which one of you, does well in the N1. I'm going to beat you up again anyway. And then obviously he'll move on to title and stuff like that. So I thought this was great. And really entertaining main event and just continued what's been a great run for Kenoh this year. And I think what's been a really fascinating kind of story arc for Shiozaki in that he came back from the injury and it was in the 6-man tag to Kongo and he lost. And the story was that he wasn't quite ready to come back. And that was why Nakajima reunited with him, reformed Axis, was because Shiozaki wasn't quite ready. And then they had their first tag match against Kongo and they lost because, again, Shiozaki wasn't quite there. And then, they won 6 in a row as a tag team. It was like, oh, he's back in the game. And then he has his first singles match since the injury, since last year's N1, and he loses. And he loses, as you pointed out, in a really decisive way. He basically gets KO'd and then takes the PFS to the stomach, which it was kind of like one of those things you see in the UFC where a fighter's been KO'd and then they get hit again and it sort of wakes them up. So yeah, I just thought he got beaten very decisively and it made it feel like he's going to go on that run in the N1 where maybe he drops his first couple of matches and then goes on the streak and gets to the final. So yeah, I think they're doing some really fun stuff with Nakajima. He feels like he's got his confidence back with Shiozaki and yeah, Kenoh's just the best.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I also fully agree on your takes of Kenoh, where that's actually something we talked about earlier as well. Where this feels like really like this is like when we look back at Kenoh's career, like we will be very easily able to like identify like that this is his peak because he's right at that moment that like people talk about, where like as a wrestler, like your body hasn't like started breaking down enough yet. Like you're like but you've really gotten to that point where you're just fully confident and able like to just really nail your character work. So you're just at that like that right sweet spot where you can still go in the ring, but you also have like the ring awareness and just like the veteranship to just like get all of the character points across. So yeah, no, and this is really like the time of Kenoh, and I really feel like he's like a guy that isn't talked about enough, like how great his like 2023 has been so far. Because I think he's so far like, and hopefully that will change with the N1. He's still somewhat lacking, like the like amount of like signature singles matches that other people have had so far this year. But if you just look at it, he has had like so many great tag matches as well. Like his like run with Manabu Soya and everything. Like his run as well with Shuji Kondo in Dragon Gate as well. That was great too. And like all of the, for example, like 6-man tag matches that he's been in, where he is kind of like the star of the match, where he is like the like guy that really is like the person who stands out, and he's in there with like absolute superstars. So yeah, I feel like this is really like an absolute banner year for Kenoh, and I really hope that like if he nails his N1, then finally I hope that like other people will like finally become aware how good he's actually been this year.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I think it's weird because, on the one hand, he's been in 2 matches this year that will probably, at the moment at least, be in my top 10 at the end of the year on the Voice of Wrestling Match of the Year poll. And that'd be the All Together Again main event, where I just thought the chemistry with him, Yuma Aoyagi, and Kazuchika Okada was just incredible.
Yeah.
I think the spot where him and Okada went for the fist bump and Aoyagi broke it up with the elbow drop might genuinely be the funniest spot I've seen all year. That was incredible, and I'm sure you and Gerard have talked about this probably on the bit you recorded before. But the All Japan tag title match, him and Sawyer against Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi, I thought was incredible. Absolutely brilliant. I think the best Manabu Sawyer's ever looked. And Kenoh was incredible in that match as well. So I think he's had a great body of work, but as you say, it's that singles match where he's had this one. He had the draw with Nakajima, and he had the title match with Kiyomiya on the New Year's Day show. So there's 3, but hopefully this N1 is going to really bolster that case, because he's been brilliant to watch this year everywhere he's been. And he's been the person in Noah that I've enjoyed the most. And it's funny because most of the stuff he's done that's been his best work hasn't even been in Noah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like getting put in a bin bag by Suwama and screaming at the side of the road. It's like, you know,
so
brilliant.
good. So
I-
good. That's it's my favorite video all year so far.
Yeah, I think he's brilliant. And yeah, this main event was just another really impressive performance from him. And I did enjoy his post-match promo where he was like, "What's more interesting, idiots, N1 or G1?" And then they all chanted N1, and he was like, "Yes." So yeah, big fan of Kenoh, big fan of Shiozaki, big fan of this match. So sets everything up nicely, I think, for talking about the N1 now as well.
Yeah, and just to briefly touch on it as well, because you were talking about like this, like the best Manabu Soya has been as well. Like I don't want to go into in depth in that, but he's actually another guy I think has a really underrated year. So obviously he has like the tag run with Kenoh and everything, but he like his like national title match with like Wagner was an absolute banger. And like I feel like he's another guy that people don't talk about. I feel like he is being hurt by the fact that he was like dragged down by Sanada at the Yokohama show. So
yeah, that match with Sanada was not like that. Was dull. That was proper dull. Makes sense now because of where Sanada's gone. Like it sort of all
he
makes
lost
sense,
that match. Sanada lost that match.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. It was sort of like
okay.
the LIJ thing wasn't working, and that's why he left to form Just Five Guys. But yeah, I don't know. That match wasn't great, but I think, as you say, I've never been a massive Sawyer guy. But this year, again, he's someone that I've really turned the corner on because I think his tag team work with Kenoh has been brilliant. And that match with Miyahara and Aoyagi, I thought he was brilliant as just like this kind of video game boss where you almost had to just withstand everything he could hit you with, and then eventually you'd get his health bar down to 0, and then you'd beat him. So yeah, he was brilliant. Being with Kenoh has helped him massively, and I think in a way, because Kongo's thinned out a bit this year and they've not used Funaki a ton, I think Sawyer's felt more relevant or more prominent, if that makes sense. So yeah, he's done a ton of great work as well. So yeah, Kenoh for Wrestler of the Year. That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. No, I can agree with that. Okay, so but now before we go into the actual N1 announcements, let's go into Gerard's N1 predictions. So here are the people that Gerard Petrolio predicted to be in the N1. And that is, he predicted that it was going to be Kento Miyahara, Yoshiki Inamura, Saxon Huxley, Jack Morris, Anthony Green, Sean Legacy, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Hideki Suzuki, Shuhei Taniguchi, Kenoh, Takashi Figura, Jake Lee, Masaki Tamiya, Katsuhiko Nakajima, Manabu Soya, Go Shiozaki, Daiki Inaba, and Timothy Thatcher. And he also wrote down as a prediction that there was going to be no Naomichi Marufuji, and he wrote down Suwama as a dark horse. And then more of his predictions were that Kento and Nakajima were going to be in different blocks, and if Suwama is in, then he and Kenoh are in the same block, and Kento and Jake Lee are in different blocks. So now let's go to the actual N1 participants, and let's see how well Gerard actually did. So for the N1 victory 2023 in Block A, we have Jake Lee, Kenoh, Masaki Tamiya, Jack Morris, Yoshiki Inamura, Timothy Thatcher, Adam Brooks, and from Dragon Gate, Yuki Yoshioka. And then in Block B, Go Shiozaki, Katsuhiko Nakajima, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Manabu Soya, Daiki Inaba, Saxon Huxley, Lance Arnaui from MLW, because the world of MLW never stops, and then All Japan's own, the super rookie, Yuma Anzai, which that was something I really did not expect. So let's just see how well Gerard did, and I would say actually he did pretty well. I think his obvious big whiff was Kento Miyahara, but I feel like I don't know how much All Japan you've been watching, Andrew, or how closely you've been following like this whole like All Japan and Noah feud that they've been building up, but I feel like predicting that Kento was gonna be in the N1 was actually, I think, a reasonable guess.
Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of All Japan this year. I think I was off All Japan for a long period of time because they just felt cold and boring. But this year they felt super hot. They've had a lot of fresh faces coming in, and I think when they've done the kind of co-promotional shows, or they've been involved in those co-promotional shows, you've seen those guys have really tried to make a name for themselves. So I've been into a lot of All Japan this year. I think Kento being in the N1, I would have been surprised by a little bit, just because I didn't know that they would want to lose him for Royal Road. But I'm also massively surprised by Anzai as well. I think I assumed in my head that they would be All Japan representation because of the stories that they've been kind of trying to tell. I hoped that none of them would be the Saitos, but I did think Suwama would be in. I thought Suwama and Kenoh was like the obvious setup. Would be that they would be in the same block. But then, Suwama wasn't in it, and, they went with Anzai, which was a big surprise, but obviously is a huge spot for him. And there can't have been too many guys that have been in the Champion Carnival and the N1 in the same year, so...
No. And I would actually say that if you give me, like, a roster list for All Japan, and you have me pick who I would think is in the N1, I think Anzai might have been the last guy I picked. Like, out of like the heavyweights, right? Like out of like the non-junior, like I guess maybe Yoshitatsu would be like a guy I would have considered to be less likely to be in the N1 out of like the All Japan, like actual like signed guys than Yuma Anzai. Like I thought that was like a massive surprise, but I mean the more I think about it, I think this is a great idea by like both of them, because he can just send Anzai in here, like he can take some losses, like it's fine, and I think like exposing him. Because obviously you're not gonna send this guy on like excursion. Like you've already given him a Triple Crown title shot. Like you're clearly like building him up to be the ace, but you still probably want to like expose him to like different environments. I think like sending him here to the N1 is like a great idea. Yeah, and I mean even more so. Like I mean you're saying like there's not that many guys that were both in the Champion Carnival and the N1, and nevertheless both the Champion Carnival and the N1 in the same year, but also be in both the Champion Carnival and the N1 in your first year as a wrestler. Like, that's always the thing you need to keep in perspective with Yuma Anzai, is that this guy is still less than a year in, and he will still be less than a year in by the time the N1 ends.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, it's insane by the standards of Japanese wrestling, but I'd say it's like insane by like any standards of wrestling. Like even other like countries where you, like maybe like rush rookies like a little bit more. Like that's still insane that he's like doing all of this in his 1 year. He's like in both the Champion Carnival and the N1. And he's already gotten a triple crown shot against Yuji Nagata. He's already had 2 singles matches with Yuji Nagata. He's had a singles match with Shingo Takagi. He's had a singles match with Minoru Suzuki. He's been in like a tag match with like and like the semi-main of an Ota Award show with Tetsuya Naito. I mentioned this on the stuff we recorded earlier, but I think I'm just going to reiterate it now. If you don't like Yuma Anzai, you might want to stop watching All Japan because it's not going to be for you. Because this guy is going to be the ace of the promotion in 2 years, and he's going to be there for like a long time, barring any major injuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I think him going to Noah for the N1 is really cool, and I think it's testament to the fact that obviously all the major promotions kind of wanted to, sink their teeth into him because they all saw, obviously what Suwama saw and, Nagata saw it obviously on the New Japan side. So I think it makes sense he's getting this run out. It's only going to help him get better, having more singles matches against a variety of opponents. And I also wonder if it's a reciprocal thing in that, maybe All Japan get someone for the Royal Road tournament. By there not being an Anzai, maybe they get someone in return, and maybe that sets up Anzai to win the Royal Road next year in what in theory would be his first appearance, because last year he wasn't in it. This year he's obviously missing it, and then next year maybe he's in a position to win it then. So I think it's a really cool thing. I just think I was surprised because I thought it was going to be Suwama, because I feel like at this point, All Japan would have been like, we don't need Suwama for the Royal Road this year. He can, you guys can have him, and that Kenoh thing was right there. Particularly if he'd stopped Kenoh getting through, or something like that, or maybe he'd beaten him or whatever, and then however they're going to go with it. But I don't know. I just think the Anzai thing is really cool. It was weird though because obviously they'd recorded the N1 participants as a video. So it wasn't like a live announcement in the building, or certainly you couldn't hear the building mic'd up as the video was playing. So I didn't notice an audible audience reaction. Whereas when they did the G1 announcements, obviously you could hear the crowd. And when they obviously said Kiyomiya was in it, that got a huge reaction. So I would have been interested to know what the reaction within Korakuen was. Because I was certainly like, whoa. The Anzai one was the biggest woe. I think that the second biggest woe was Adam Brooks, because I was like, that's really weird. Why is he here? But yeah, I think the Anzai thing is really cool. And I think, as you say, it opens it up because he's obviously not going to go through, and he doesn't need to go through at this point. So he kind of gives you a guy that you're not under pressure to position in a certain way. So I just think it works well for all parties. So yeah, big plus for me.
Oh, fair enough. I would actually say that I think my second biggest surprise of the whole tournament was actually Yuki Yoshioka. Because I really didn't. Like, I know that like they have like a cooperation with like Dragon Gate and all of that, but I didn't expect him to be like in this tournament. So I thought that was like because I like maybe it's because I've gotten used to like the no random group of foreigners. So I was like, yeah, sure, Adam Brooks, why not? And then whoa, Yuki Yoshioka, what the fuck? But what I'm wondering about is that kind of gives away the result of the Kobe World main event because he's in the title match there, and I don't know if Dragon Gate wants Yoshioka to go into the N1 as champion. Yeah.
This isn't T-Hawk winning the G-Rex while he's in the Champion Carnival.
I mean, they did that. To be fair, they did that one really well, where they had him have all of his losses before he won the title.
Yeah,
that was actually really well done.
But yeah, I think it does kind of tip that off, which is annoying. But you never know. But yeah, I would assume that means that he's it's not going to work out for him at Kobe World, and then he'll come into this. But I think he's an interesting one in that because I'm not a massive Dragon Gate guy. I've only got so much time to watch Puro, unfortunately. I know I should watch all of it. I think I've actually watched more Big Japan this year than I have Dragon Gate, which is not something I thought I would say in January. But yeah, I've not seen a ton. True. I've not seen a ton, but Yoshoka's a strange one because I think he's good, but then I watch him sometimes and I don't see it. So I think this N1 will be a good opportunity for me to see him in the ring with guys that I'm very familiar with, because that way I can kind of appreciate him more, if that makes sense. Because, I know what to expect from a Jake Lee or a Kenoh or a Masaki Tamiya. Whereas then I can kind of study his performance a little bit more and then work out where I sit with him. So from that point of view, it's really interesting. And I know he can be really good. So hopefully when he's in there with a Kenoh, or even like a Tim Thatcher, I think this would be some really fun stuff there for sure.
No, I'm really looking forward to that as well. But I think Mike Spears actually summed it up relatively well recently, where because I think he is not someone that's down in Yuki Yoshioka, but he is also someone that understands why people might be down on him. And he kind of compared him to Yamato just post face turn after he got kicked out of Berserk, where they basically after that were like, oh yeah, Yamato like did like this whole like ace run, and then he had all of these like failed like like Tribe Vanguard era like Yamato, where like you always look at it, and then on paper you're like, oh, I might be excited for this match, and then it always weirdly kind of like, I don't know, like it's this really weird vibe where it's like, oh yeah, maybe I'm interested in that, but then you just feel your like self like drifting away from the promotion, and that's kind of what happened to me. During like Tribe Vanguard, like Yamato, and like his like title reign and like the Dragon Kid run and all of that, where I like got less interested in Dragon Gate, and I had like the same thing when Yuki Yoshioka was champion, where I'm like, I don't really have a good reason why I'm not watching, but I'm also like not, I don't know, I just don't care about this guy, and I can't really put my finger on why. But they have like similar vibes.
No, I think that's a fair comparison for sure.
No, but actually something I like about like this tournament overall is, so that may sound weird, but it's the fact that they've kind of like made the field like, it feels like a lot of like a younger tournament. Like, not that this is like a young kind of like because I think like the average age of this is like 35, 36, right? If we just look at like the participants, not that this is like a young tournament, but if we then look at like who is not in the tournament, like you realize that they actually did make like the tournament younger by like a lot. Because the people that aren't in it are like people like Hideki Suzuki was in it last year, like Minoru Tanaka, like Masaki Mochizuki was in it, like Funaki was in it, Takashi Sugiura, like Kojima, like they can still go, but obviously they're like guys that are like in their 50s. Like Fujita isn't in it anymore either. So like they have actually made the tournament significantly younger just by like getting like everyone that is like above 50 out. And I feel like these are kind of going to be the guys that are going to be important in Noah. Not that this is like the guys, not that this is like a guys tournament where it's like, oh, this is like the next generation, because that's wrong to say about like a bunch of guys in like their mid to late 30s, really. So yeah, because like if we look at it, like the youngest guy in this tournament by far is not a Noah guy. Like that's Yuma Anzai. Like if we look at it, like if I'm looking at like top to bottom here, who is like the youngest guy in this tournament that is like an actual Noah guy, like that's Yoshiki Inamura, and he's already 30. So I guess it's Jack Morris technically.
Yeah,
it's technically
Jack's
Jack Morris
29,
if you
I think.
Yeah. So if you want to count him, but still, like this isn't like you have like, for example, Yuma Anzai that is like 24, that is objectively going to be the future of the promotion, and you don't really have that in this tournament, but it still feels fresher than what they've had in the past, which is, I guess, that really kind of sums up the weird like cognitive dissonance that you have with Noah at the moment, where the promotion has gotten younger, but it's not like you have the next generation ready, which is just a very bizarre situation to be in, because I don't think I've ever like seen that anywhere else ever happening.
No, it does feel like they missed a generation kind of thing, and it certainly feels like they're in a holding pattern at the moment. They don't feel a particularly hot promotion, but I think two things really on the N1. First of all, I think I was in the same boat as Gerard because I know he picked 18 people to be in the N1. I thought this was going to be an 18-person tournament because they've got the 8 tournament shows. So I was like, okay, well, fine. That's 8 double block nights. That makes sense. It'll be an 18. And I thought if it's going to be an 18, there's probably room for a Sugiura. Now, was he going to be in it, or is this eye injury the reason he's not in it? I'm not sure. I didn't know that Marufuji was going to be in it, especially when they announced his 25th anniversary. I thought maybe he would want to wind down, especially just had a GHC title shot as well. So I thought there would still be some of the older guys. Like I thought Taniguchi was going to be in it, for example. But I thought, there's an opportunity to bring in an Inamura or whatever. And they've done that. There are 10 people in this N1 that weren't in the last one, or, there are 10 people from last year's N1 that aren't in this year's. So it's a fully fresh lineup in that sense. You've got 6 debutants, which makes it feel really interesting. And the debutants in themselves are really interesting because it's Yuma Anzai, it's Yuki Yoshioka, and then, the random grab bag of foreigners they brought in. Timothy Thatcher was supposed to be in it last year, and then can't remember if he got injured or he had visa problems, and that was why Anthony Green
that was
came
visa
in.
issues is what he had. Yeah.
So that made sense, Thatcher being in. I wondered if Anthony Green would have been in this year as kind of a make good because he did them a solid last year. But obviously he didn't make the cut. But yeah, and then you've got obviously Jake Lee as champions coming in, and that's obviously going to change things a lot. And yeah, the random ones in Adam Brooks and Lance Anoa'i. So it feels really interesting as 16. And I think it feels a much more interesting tournament. Whereas last year when I looked at it and it was like, I'm not a big Hideki Suzuki guy. I know you are a fan of his. So I looked at him and was like, ugh. And then it was Funaki, who again, his style at the moment it's not for me. So there was a lot of it where I was just like, ugh. I watched it out of solidarity with the main man, Jack Morris. But a lot of it was just sort of hand wave. Whereas this year, I'm actually really excited for it because the lineup feels super fresh and there's a lot of interesting first-time matchups and stuff like that. So should be really good. Lance Anoa'i, for me, is the big question mark because he's been wrestling for something like 13 years, but he doesn't work a ton. I know he's been in and out of WWE a couple of times where he's had like tryout matches, or he lost to Shane McMahon on Raw once in 89 seconds. Which, to be fair, only top stars do that. But like in MLW, where he is now, he's in a tag team with Juicy Finau. And they don't have long matches. Like all their matches in MLW have been what I would call the cage match threshold, where like a lot of them have been under 5 minutes. You can't rate them on the cage match system. And even the ones that have been are like 6 minutes or, 6.5, 7. So he's not had a ton of long matches, and most of them have been in a tag team where Juicy Finau kind of gets beaten down and then Anoa'i's the hot tag on the outside. So for him to go into a tournament like this and have a load of singles matches with, Anzai, Shiozaki, Nakajima, El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., it's like, okay, he might feel quite out of place. Or he might be like a Shawn Legacy or a Jack Morris where it works out really well and it's almost like you've lucked into a bit of success. But I look at him and I don't feel hugely confident that he's going to have a great tournament. But I'd be prepared to be proved wrong. That's the way I would put it. But again, maybe because of his background and his style and whatever, maybe he becomes the Yano type person in the tournament where he is not your off night, but he's your complete change of pace. Like he's the person that you have a short match with. He's not the person where you have a, 20, 25 minute main event type thing. So he's the one I think I've got an asterisk or a question mark over. Whereas the other guys, even like an Adam Brooks, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he is a very capable wrestler who's been around for a sneaky long amount of time. And he's wrestled some of the best. So he's going to fit right in that tournament. And I think he's not someone who's under pressure to have loads of wins or losses or whatever. So he's fine. It's just the Anoa'i one I look at and go, not sure.
No, I think that's fair. And I have to say, like, as of right now, like, I haven't really seen much of Lance, like, in MLW, so I don't really know, like, how much he's doing there right now. But as of right now, I'm somewhat dreading, like, him versus Saxon Huxley. Like, I think that match has to be, like, the clubhouse leader for, like, at least on paper, that's the worst match of the tournament. Like, we'll see what actually happens when it happens, but just on paper, I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah.
that one's gonna go. But
Hey, maybe Lance beats him and that sets up a GHC heavyweight title match. Winner takes all with the MLW tag titles, and it's Juicy Fee now.
on
In the Osaka Edion Arena, it's Juicy Fee now and Lance Anoa'i against Thatcher and Huxley. That's what the people want to see, Paul.
do they?
No people want to see that.
No.
Other than me.
I love Timothy Thatcher, but that's literally the one Timothy Thatcher match I don't want to see.
I have to admit, the dynamic between him and Juicy Fee now would genuinely be quite funny.
I actually would be interested in that, yeah.
As a man who wants to root for pure chaos, that's what I'm hoping happens.
No, fair enough. But actually, since you were mentioning as well, since we were talking about Timothy Thatcher, let's just briefly touch on his brother from another mother, Hideki Suzuki. So you were saying that obviously, like, you're not a big fan of his, but then I do want to ask you if you like saw like the N1 finals match from last year of him versus Kaito, because I feel like that's like the match even people that don't like Hideki, like that's like a match that even those people liked.
Yeah, no, I actually really enjoyed that one, and I enjoyed his match with El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. earlier this year.
Mhm.
It's just, I think there's just something about his facial expressions where I look at him and he never looks interested. Like there's this kind of vacant look on his face a lot of the time. And I don't know, I feel like I've got a disconnect with him because of that. He can work. It's just, I feel like I've kind of got burnt out on a lot of his long, dull matches. But yeah, he was actually all right in last year's tournament, and he was quite good in the final. And I think because he got to last year's final, I was really surprised that he wasn't in it this year.
Same.
I was like, surely he'd be in even if it's in a downcycled position. But yeah, he's just not there, which seemed strange. But I guess you've got Thatcher and Huxley from Real in there. And then him, Fujita and Taniguchi on the outside. So I don't know, strange one. But maybe he didn't want to do it. You know, that could be that he just didn't want to do the N1 because maybe he was like, I don't need to. I'm not that bothered. So I don't know, a weird one, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's one of those people I look at and I feel like his matches are always better than I think they're going to be, but I always look at them and think, ugh, Hideki Suzuki. And I'm never excited, if that makes sense. But then he's always like okay, if nothing else. So
Okay, no, fair enough. Okay, so then kind of like to finish things off, let's just kind of give some like very too early like kind of thoughts on what we think kind of what this whole tournament is leading to. And I think to me, Go Shiozaki is kind of the favorite to win the whole thing. And I'm just thinking who he's going to face in the finals. I think previously I was thinking that the final was going to be Go Shiozaki versus Jack Morris, because I feel like they've been like pushing Jack Morris like pretty hard, and like that was like lead to something like maybe him going to like the finals of the N1, like really show that like this is a guy that they're like wanting to like do something with in the future and all of that. But I feel with the finish from the show from today, like the most obvious final is going to be Go Shiozaki versus Kenoh, where Go Shiozaki basically like avenges his humiliation from this show, where he got knocked out by Kenoh and then like hit with the PFS on top of that, and then that's just like a perfect thing that you can like call back to in an N1 final, and then like maybe like Kenoh knocks him down again, but then Go actually like rolls out of the way of the PFS afterwards and then beats him, or like there's so many different things he can do with this match, and so I really feel like that's going to be the final of the tournament.
yeah, I think the story that Jake Lee is doing with the title is that he wanted to face all the Noah old guard. And, that was Sugiura, that was Nakajima, that was Marufuji. And in my head, it was like, well, that's obviously, building to an eventual match with Shiozaki. And I thought when Shiozaki made his return, I thought that was going to be to challenge for the title. I thought he was coming out to say, I'm going to be the champ now. I'm going to challenge Jake Lee, one of the shows before the N1. Or that show in Nagoya, where Segura challenged for the title. And then, he didn't. He was in that 6-man. And as I kind of outlined before, this story of like, he's not quite there. He's still maybe 85%. And that's why Nakajima's with him. We obviously don't know the schedule, but my assumption is that it's going to be Shiozaki Nakajima on the last night of their block.
It's either that
And
or the
that's-
opener, basically. Like, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's like that's going to be the deciding match, I would have assumed, for who wins that block. And I think my gut instinct is that it will be Shiozaki, with the fact that almost like Nakajima's got him back into fighting shape and he's got him back ready. And then Shiozaki beats Nakajima. And then, there's a rerun of the 2017 N1 final when Kenoh beat Go Shiozaki. So I think that's it wasn't the N1 then. I think it was the Global League in 2017. But that year Kenoh won it and beat Shiozaki in the final. So I think that in my head for quite a while has been what I thought they were going to do. Was, that was the way I saw it going, was a Shiozaki Kenoh final. And really after today, that still seems like the most likely outcome, because I look at that A block outside of Kenoh, and it's like, really the only other person I could conceive as being viable of going to the final would be Morris, Yoshioka, or maybe Jake Lee. Maybe it's a Jake Lee Shiozaki final. But then if it is a Jake Lee Shiozaki final, you then have to run 2 Shiozaki Jake Lee, potentially 2 Shiozaki Jake Lee title match, or big singles matches, main events, within a fairly short period of time. And we all know that Jake Lee's not a draw, so probably not the direction they're going to go. So my gut is that Shiozaki Kenoh is what they were going to do, and I still don't feel any differently, particularly after the way today's show ended. So that's my way too early prediction. I can't wait to be completely wrong, and Lance Anoa'i wins the N1.
Oh God, that would be the darkest timeline. But I also agree. What I think, like, I don't think it's impossible that they do Jake Lee versus Go in the finals, but that would only make sense if Jake then defends the title. Because if you remember, like, All Japan actually did something like that with the Champion Carnival a few years ago, where they had Kento versus Marufuji as the final of the Champion Carnival, when Kento was also the Triple Crown champion at the time. And they basically had Marufuji win the Champion Carnival, and then Kento won the Triple Crown match soon after. So I think this really only makes sense, like Jake Lee Go really only makes sense if Jake defends the title. And I don't think there's really like any chance that Jake wins against whoever is winning the N1, unless they want to like drag out this Jake reign until like the January 1st show. And I don't they haven't announced yet what building they're running for that, but again, they've run like Budokan for that like the last couple of years, and I really don't think you can like main event Budokan with Jake Lee. I just don't think that works. Whereas that actually works perfectly if you main event that with Go Shiozaki.
Yeah, and then it's Go against Nakajima or
Kaito
or whoever. Or that's the other thing, is the Kaito Kiyomiya thing, because obviously he's not in the N1 because he's in the G1. It would have genuinely amused me no end if he tried to do both. I don't think you actually could. I think there probably are overlapping shows, but he's obviously not in it. So the only other way I could see round it would be if you did Jake Lee gets to the final or whatever, and then when he say you have a Lee Shiozaki final, say Shiozaki wins the final but then loses the title challenge, maybe after that Kiyomiya comes out and makes the challenge for the New Year show, and you go full cycle with the Jake Lee Kiyomiya thing, where he fought the old guard and he beat all of the old guard. And in the end, Kiyomiya, it took him 9 months. It took him going to New Japan. It took him fighting Okada and Sanada and Tsuji and all that stuff. And then he comes back and feels like the big ace of Noah. And then they do his big run next year.
Yeah.
That would be the only alternative I see. But I don't really know what's going on with Kiyomiya. So
No, I don't think he's jumping. I think actually that's kind of what, at the very least, that is like the plan that Noah has. Because it's also like Kaito still hasn't, like, he's only like lost like GHC like title matches to Shiozaki, because like Shiozaki was the one that like ended the Kiyomiya title reign, the first Kiyomiya title reign, and then like he also like beat Kaito when the title was vacant last year, after Fujita caught COVID. So like that's very clearly like still something they're like keeping in their back pocket about Kaito like finally like overcoming Go Shiozaki.
yeah, and I mean even they could still do that. You know, if Go wins the N1, beats Jake Lee, September, they could then do January 1st is Kiyomiya Shiozaki, and then Kiyomiya to borrow some Cody Rhodes parlance, he completes his story and wins the GHC to start next year. So I think there's a few different ways they can go with it, but for me in my head, Shiozaki Kenoh feels nailed on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm really hoping for, because, as we had that conversation earlier, I think this tournament could be a real boon for the year that Kenoh has had. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, though. There should be a lot of fun. And, yeah, as I say, that's what the final feels like. But, Japanese promotions this year have really been ripping up the script in many ways of kind of going against that conventional wisdom. So maybe that's not what they're going to do. And they're going to do something else. So I'll be interested to watch anyway. But, yeah, as I say, Shiozaki Kenoh is what I'm expecting.
Yeah, and then the final will be Masaki Tamiya versus Daiki Inaba, which I'm not against, but would be a very big surprise.
Daiki Inaba for GHC.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. No, but okay. So I think we've kind of covered everything. So thank you, Andrew. So I'm going to give you the floor to plug your things.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me on, Paul. I really appreciate it. It's nice to kind of talk Noah with you, because obviously I love the work that you and Gerard do. So been a big help for me, watching an awful lot more this year, certainly with All Japan. So that's just a big thanks to you guys, really, and thanks for having me on. Hopefully I've not bored everyone to death. Yeah, in terms of plugs, I was on the flagship last week, which was super cool. Talked a lot about Impact, which I'm sure no one really actually has any interest in Impact Wrestling, but if you do, me and Rich talked for 90 minutes about a lot of things, a lot of
and it was really good. It was really good. Like I've actually fallen like out of Impact as well, and I think you've at least made me like entertain the idea of like checking it out again.
Yeah, the 2:30 a.m. ramblings about Bully Ray. I'm glad they went down well with at least one person, so that's good. So you can check that out for sure. It was a lot of fun for me. You can follow me on Twitter at amsinclair97. And yeah, just check me out on Voices of Wrestling. Write Impact columns basically every week. I'll be covering all their shows this summer. As they go to Australia, Canada. They've got the shows with New Japan in August as well. So there's a lot of fun Impact stuff going on. I will also be covering some MLW shows coming up soon, which is obviously why I was such a font of knowledge about Lance Hanaway. So yeah, you can follow that stuff, and hopefully for Voice of Wrestling getting involved with some N1 coverage as well, because really looking forward to the tournament this year, and hopefully should have some time. And then yeah, I'll be seeing you, Paul, at the All In weekend at the end of August.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that as well. So yeah, we're going to see each other then, and I already know like whenever I need, like whenever Gerard goes on the next of his Gerard creation, I don't know, that doesn't really work.
Did Trolley? I was going to say did Trolley Holidays, but that doesn't really work either.
No. Curse you and your Italian name. But yeah, but whenever I would like need like a replacement for Gerard, I think I know who's going to be the first one I'm going to be calling for that. Or if we actually do like a awards show or anything like that again,
Hola, hola, my name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. We are a Spanish speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your Lucha Libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Nos vemos por ahí.
Hi, my name is Tyler Fornes, and I am the co-host of The Good, the Bad, and the Hunky here on the Voice Wrestling Podcasting Network. Every week, my co-host Fred Moreland and I discuss all the happenings of All Elite Wrestling and everything going on in the universe of Tony Khan. We talk about Dynamite, we talk about Rampage, and we will talk about Collision when the time comes as well, along with all the appearances outside of AEW from all the best talents in All Elite Wrestling. This is one of the more cohesive wrestling companies in the entire world, and we discuss every intricacy about it, including the unique booking of Tony Khan that is both a huge positive and a major detriment. Check us out every single Thursday here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.